A cocky, powerful lord starts bragging about his brand new, jaw-dropping triumphs. It was built on a hidden squad of female warriors drawn from every race imaginable. A crackling force steered by one lone genius mage, wrapped in mystery like a sealed curse. As the days slip by, a hooded mage finally arrives in the middle of a loud, bustling city. His goal was the grand castle, towering over the entire domain, like it owned the horizon. He's been dragged straight into the territory lord's office. Borek, a smug man with a crooked grin, demands the mage's opinion like he already knows the answer. Our boy steps forward, wearing an unsettlingly confident smile like he owns the room. Piling on praise, they fawned over the lord's royal birthright. Lord Borek bursts into wild laughter, ego fully fueled, and then he offers the major job, this special task from someone so powerful it shuts the whole world still. This mage snatches the mission scroll and acts like pure gratitude is bursting out of him. This mission zeroes in on elite elven knights who up and vanished from their posts, left behind, and now the hunt begins. Lord Borek can't believe what he's seeing. He finds it totally unforgivable and completely unacceptable. He clenches his fist and crushes the object, trembling with fury at the thought alone. The knights are a legendary institution, the greatest honor any race can earn, and he erupts in frustration, screaming at the betrayal he just can't wrap his head around. Now that his eye patch is off, this mage speaks up calmly and tells the lord to relax. He promises, vowing to smash the problem fast and get things done the right way, leaving the lord drenched in sweat, but still feeling a little relieved by his iron confidence. After regaining his composure, the lord stands up straight and lays out the request again, formally and unmistakably. He slammed a heavy pouch of coins onto the desk as payment. The money meant to clean up the scandal the former knights caused is. Our boy snatches the payment, nodding like he fully gets the job, then his truth. He finally admits the real truth. He's here to wipe out every inconvenient truth. Inside a grand hall lit by ornate windows and a chandelier that glittered like a crown, then a chill hit and a hooded stranger slips in and drops a chilling claim. Those elite elves are already crushed. Shooting a chilling grin as he gears up for what he swears is a fun job. But he slams to a stop, eyes locking on two guards pacing that nearby corridor. These guards are huddled up, trading fears about the bandits roaming the area, led by a terrifyingly powerful elf who, they say, he's an insanely powerful former knight. One more guard hears it and instantly panics at the horrifying news, realizing that knights are the absolute elite, no matter what race you come from. The cloaked man lines in like he's hearing the truth, and it hits him hard. The mission is insanely dangerous. But a massive grin erupts across his face as he swears that nobody will be left behind. One guard suddenly snaps his head around, convinced he just heard something lurking nearby. But his partner brushes it off like it's nothing but his imagination. Several days later, the story kicks to a huge stretch of brutal, mountainous wilderness. A lone-covered wagon rumbles down a quiet woodland path, rolling deeper into the trees like it's carrying something unforgettable. Driven forward, our cloaked protagonist pushes on, looking like they're traveling solo through the shadows. This wagon keeps rolling, pushing further and further into the heart of the forest, until this scarred guy with a cocky grin steps in front and blocks the whole path. The wagon gets swarmed out of nowhere by a whole horde of armed bandits. Their leader offers the driver a way to live, just ditch the cargo an hour. But our boy doesn't even flinch, still completely unfazed by that threat. He just smirks because he knows they've walked straight into the trap he set for them. With a roar, he blasts the signal, and his hidden allies burst out from the shadows. From the back of the wagon, monstrous figures with blazing, glowing eyes surge into view. A giant clawed hand drops from the sky and slams into the ground with terrifying force, leaving the bandit leader reeling, totally stunned and lost in disbelief at what he's witnessing. These fighters slam face first into a dead end as colossal masked beasts rise up, swinging their monstrous clubs at every. The lead beast's glowing eyes lock on ahead, blasting out pure menace like a storm. The bandit leader finally clocks it. Ogres are coming, and this nightmare is way bigger than they ever planned for. Right then, a new person barrels into the scene, totally unfazed. Bandit leader erupts into a terrifying scream, ordering his men to fall back from the beasts right now. But one of the ogres swings its huge wooden club back, lining up a brutal, crushing hit. With one brutal swing, it smashes the weapon down and blasts fighters through the air like ragdolls. This beast just stares at the chaos he unleashed with a dead-cold, emotionless gaze, while his comrades get blasted away, absolutely drowned by the raw, crushing power. All they can do is stare in horror, knowing they can't stand a single second against that kind of power. Death is already sealing their fate. Desperation hits hard. There's only one shot left, begging the elf for help. And even the ogre nods along, basically saying, "Yeah, this is your mission." But the squad's leader just smirks, daring the monsters to come at him. He taunts them, laughing that their leader isn't special at all, because he knows a real knight is already here, showing up right on cue. A path opens up, and there, trapped inside a blazing crystal prison, is an elf. And the bandits burst into triumphant laughter, thrilled that their trap has finally snapped shut. This captive creeps forward with slow, ruthless patience, completely unfazed by everything happening around them. The assembled ogre horde stared with total, undivided focus, like nothing else in the world could pull their eyes away. Inside the prism, the elf stays ice calm, totally unshaken by everything happening around him. That beast looked at the captive, and somehow sensed a terrifying power leaking off him. A wild wave of magical power suddenly explodes across the entire clearing, flooding everything with raw energy. Right between the ogres, a hooded stranger bursts out of the darkness, like the shadows just spit them into the light. He's not just a knight, this one is real, undeniable, and absolutely terrifying in power. The bandit boss leans in close to the captive, sneering at their weird, hopeless look. A hooded robed man marches up to the camp, his instincts screaming as he catches a strange scent tied to suspicious soldiers, while the long-haired elf looks like he's already ready for this exact showdown. The dark-haired mage steps out, shocked to find an assassin standing there, not the knights he expected, telling them his master's plan was just a play to win over the knight's order. He sneers at the elf, basically saying, "Even if this plan collapses, those knights are still marching for you." He bursts into laughter at what he sees as an utterly ridiculous, hopeless mess. But the elf's gaze stayed razor-sharp, locked on target with zero wobble. He realized the knight's order was packed with monsters, warriors so powerful he couldn't take them on by himself. He rips back with a roar, saying his opponent is the one who's totally got the situation wrong. This mage stays rock steady, because he can already see the exact road to victory. That's exactly why he decided to show up right here, right now. A brilliant magical sigil flares to life in the air above them, glowing like it's casting a spell. Snagging the elf's focus the instant the trap snaps shut. Two rivals snap into eye contact, confidence and pure defiance blazing on their faces, and right there, a map waits for the next move. A massive explosion detonates from the mage's spell, swallowing the whole area in a flash. He smirks, grinning like he's just watched his power crush everything in sight. He spun around and stared down the last guards standing on the now empty path. Its ground lies completely blackened, a brutal stamp of the spell's wrecking power, but the mage smirks and blows their guess out of the water. Turns out it was just a plain old standard attack. The blast smashed the crystal barrier, and the elf trapped inside finally came free. This elf smirks and shrugs like, of course the barrier held. Explaining his barrier, he unleashed the power of 11 mages, so easily it swallowed the attack whole. The crowd goes wild, erupting in cheers as everyone celebrates the elf's victory. As the furry brutes gawk in stunned disbelief, because his resilience is just unreal. The elves just proved their magic is on a whole other level. That elf explains that his power should have been smashed to pieces by the last attack, so why didn't it? But he smirks like he owns the world, dead certain he can handle anything. He declares he'll smash through the mage's power, because fresh magic circles keep erupting into existence. With a burst of raw power, the crystal prison starts cracking and shattering wide open. That crack tore across its surface at lightning speed, until the whole barrier shatters and blasts into a million pieces. He bragged that one elite elf's magic blows past the power of 40 ordinary humans. Dubois' eyes widen as he watches the former knight rebuild his barrier already, like it's nothing. And from across the distance, the two rivals finally lock eyes and admit, straight up, that the other is seriously strong. That elf needles him, smirking, and asks if that one attack is truly all he's got. He's swearing that the only things still standing are his weird-looking ogre minions. Trapped behind his brand-new barrier, the elf draws in a deep breath and lines up a brutal counterattack. He slams his power into the world, unleashing a tidal wave of energy as he swears he's taking victory. A strike that slams into the dark-haired mage out of nowhere, catching him totally off guard. That brutal burst of light crashes straight into the beastly warriors, and he swallowed the entire front line in a blinding blast that hit like raw power unleashed. This elf watches it all unfold with a calm, satisfied grin, like he's basking in the victory of his own strike. As our boy whips around in panic, yelling to check if his allies are okay, he locks eyes with the smoke, trembling, desperate for the answer to finally come. One of the ogres starts to split and crumble to dust, like stone breaking apart, unmasking the fierce female warriors hiding under the disguise. One of the warriors' masks cracks wide open, and right beneath it, her hidden eye stares through as the others stare down, she realizes her own mask took the blast too, cracked and broken. And the third one snaps into action, club in hand, her real form finally laid bare. This elf lifts a hand like it's no big deal, telling them, straight-faced, to quit freaking out. This mage struts alongside his muscle, swearing they're a must-pay cost for the mission. But he smirks and swears this job won't go broke on him. A blinding flash detonates from a glowing magical sigil hanging in the air. And the elf smirks at the mage and snaps, "Stop playing games, now attack me." Our boy plants his feet and points like he owns the whole scene, pure control in every inch of him. A sinister grin crawls across his face as he snaps back, "That's not my plan at all." That one sentence hit like a gut punch, smirk instantly gone as horror crept across the elf's face. A massive blast of energy detonates outward from somewhere you can't even see. The glow keeps climbing, burning brighter by the second as the spell's power swells, leaving the nearby bandits staring in pure shock at the sudden twist that just flipped everything. A massive blast of energy rips through the forest, carving a trail of total destruction. This elf roars at the fleeing bandits to sprint for their lives, but his eyes flare wide, and pure shock rips through him as he realizes what he's seeing. Since the crystal prison is totally empty now, that elf has vanished without a trace. A brutal explosion rips through the very spot where the prison used to stand. While our boy stands there, calm as the chaos, he's running like a conductor. Smoke and debris whipped around him as the blast's shockwave finally died down. That elf just freezes, gaping in disbelief, whispering that this can't possibly be true. Pinned down once more, energy wraps him tight as he thrashes and screams that the mage's power is monstrous. This mage flicks a simple hand gesture, and somehow everything obeys him without a fight. A cool, calculated grin stretched across his face as he set his sights on the next move. As terror claws up this elf's chest, he finally realizes what's really going on, staring at the mounting attacks, asking himself how many times he's going to be hit, and then his crystal prison gets slammed by a storm of energy beams all at once. Every single blast smashed into the barrier with brutal, earth-shaking force. And our boy just sits there, watching it all crash and burn, wearing the calmest, unbothered smile like it's exactly what he wanted. The mage and his beast stumble out of the shattered prison, and the ground is still smoking beneath their feet. He leans in and taunts the elf, laughing that his precious barrier is only barely hanging on. His beasts freeze in shock as the barrier refuses to fall, but the mage stays unruffled and straightens their mistake. He taps the crystal and tells you the barrier is all that's left, an empty husk. It was built to take their hits, but that last blast just overwhelmed everything. And now the elf trapped inside is utterly drained, frozen in place the instant the crystal shatters. He laughs in a taunting tone and praises the elf for surviving the power of 40 mages, then admits, straight up, that he'd been genuinely worried. This elf hauls himself up to his knees, glaring through the pain, and demands the secret behind those rapid-fire attacks. But our boy just grins and says he owes nobody the details of his methods. Instead, he just lifts one gloved finger, pure silence, a dead serious promise of what's coming, then it thrusts upward like a beacon, and a blinding column of light rips through the forest's canopy. This elf jolts his head up, utterly baffled by the sudden gap that rips open through the trees. Horror hit him as he realized that the hole was carved by the exact path of the attack. A wave of pure dread slams across his face as the horrifying truth finally catches up to him. The mage's sinister smile seals it, confirming his worst fears with 0 words. He whips around to his shadowy beasts and demands, "Are we really facing an elite elf?" Coldly declaring that if it folds that easily, it's got 0 worth. Nothing inside it matters. With a final command, an explosion erupts and engulfs the elf, turning him straight into prize money. A few days later, the story rips to life at the Grand Castle in the royal capital. In a towering hall, the elf's lifeless body lies on a table as knights gather to stare, like the whole room is holding its breath. And our boy stands over the body, staring the room down as he confirms it, no mistake. They id his body as the fallen knight, Avier. These other knights stared in disbelief, stunned that a user this powerful got knocked down with 0 losses, yet it still happened. But a female knight cuts through the argument and says there's no point dragging those facts any further. As another knight snaps out the truth, one ugly issue hits hard. There's no official bounty on the deserter at all. The female knight steps up and declares, Since he fixed everything for us, he deserves his reward. Tistria takes her place on the throne, an elite human knight commander, every inch a legend. A subordinate rushes in and tells him that Lord Borek has seized control and taken the fight into his own hands. Antistria looks genuinely blown away, clearly recognizing the insane power that was unleashed. Meanwhile, our boy smirks like he's already won, and decides it's finally time to prove what his prize is really worth. Knowing Lord Borek's men were about to crash in any second. Back with his unit, the ogre warriors grumble about the scorching heat trapped inside their disguises. Then but he just tells them to hang tight for a little longer. He jabs a finger down the trail and declares their campsite is right up ahead. When the view swings around, you see a fully established camp, tents lined up, and a massive weapon emplacement sitting there like it's ready to roar. As the other furry brutes greet their returning leader with a bold wave. One of them just blurts out, "Our boss is back." He strides up to the camp guards and makes it clear nobody attacked while he was gone, while the female ogres are still drenched in sweat, pleading to rip off their blazing hot gear. He grins and gives them the go-ahead, and one of them lets out a huge cheer, like a weight just vanished. They waste no time. Fur coats drop off in a hurry, layer by layer. Finally, they could breathe easy. Those heavy disguises were gone, and freedom hit like relief. One of the fans fanned herself like crazy, begging for water to cool her burning head. Everybody else groans, going off about how their gear turns into a non-stop heat trap. Pushing aside the suit, he finally exposed the thick, insulated core hidden under all that fur. Our boy's head jerks with a sudden twitch, then it hits him, and boom, he's got the perfect improvement in his sights. He muttered under his breath that he was already cooking up a better design. He mumbles about how his muscles work and how his body can't cool down anymore, lost deep in thought. Right as it all hits, those tiny voices suddenly break in, shouting for their master. 3 young, elf-like girls in aprons burst toward him, waving bright smiles as they run. They proudly declared they cooked up food meant for the other elves. Our boy grins, and with pure pride he tells them the mission's success happened because of their hard work. This girl fights back and insists the warriors had it way worse, even admitting they were all scared for them. He shoots them ahead to the main tent, ordering them to check on the fighters resting up and ready to spring back into the fight. He bursts into the tent, fires up his unit with loud congratulations, and declares their victory like it's a victory he personally earned. Inside, the whole army of fierce women is utterly spent, drained to the bone after the fight. Most of them were broken and trembling, begging anyone for water just to crawl back from the edge. These younger girls rush in to care for the exhausted fighters, handing them exactly what they need to keep going. One of the warriors jerks her gaze up from the ground, utterly drained, like every last spark has been burned out. Another gratefully gulps down a cup of water, and at last, relief hits. She meets her master's eyes and breaks into a warm, grateful smile. He tells them the old knight wasn't just fighting back. He was a monster that swallowed every single attack they threw at him. A jaw-dropping revelation hits the warriors, and the first thing they blurt out is, "Did you really use all of our magic?" They can't believe it. After everything, they still watch their last, combined blast fail to finish the job. One of them hangs her head in shame, convinced she was never truly useful in the end. But the mage brushes off her worries and fires back, asking why she's still so crushed after they just won. He lets it be known, no question about it, they're the ones who drove this success the hardest. His praise hits the exhausted elves like a bolt out of nowhere, leaving them stunned. A small, smug grin blooms on one of their faces. That elf who once felt utterly useless now lights up with pure joy. Finally, he's got the best feeling in the world. He actually helped. Inside the tent, the mood skyrockets as the whole unit cheers, proud to know they're finally useful to their master. Our boy keeps watch over them, wearing a calm, gentle look like he's protecting something precious. He orders them to take a breather, down their recovery potions, and then get out there, because in 2 days they're gone. The story snaps back outside, zeroing in on the camp's monstrous weapon looming over everything. A sinister, knowing grin blooms across the mage's face. The real source of the attack finally gets revealed, and it's a gigantic magical cannon tower. A diagram lays it out, one brutal shot fueled by siphoning magic from 5 elves. And the young girls get shown, in a comedic scene, cramming the drained elves into the system. This trapped knight had spotted a far-off targeting sigil hanging in the sky, right before a colossal energy beam blasted in from the distance. That brutal blast slammed into him 4 times in a row, grinding his defenses down until they couldn't hold. This little scheme used a total of 20 elves, then it completely wiped them out. In the middle of the chaos that night, he couldn't even tell where the real danger was lurking from where he stood. He only realized too late that the attacks weren't coming from the mage, standing right in front of him. This mage finally unleashes his full power. 20 ogre soldiers and 20 goblins guarding the camp are hit head-on. Our boy towers on a platform, grinning as he mocks the elite elf for getting beaten by a bunch of lesser folk. He smirks, already set to hammer the knight with one last lesson, right before he finally dies. Even the smartest genius can't fight off a wall of 61 opponents. Half a month later, the story snaps right back to the city. Our boy steps up to Lord Boric, and the man praises him to the skies for the killer job he nailed on that mission. That lord flashes a smug grin and shoves a pouch of coins into his hands as the reward, unveiling a mountain of gold for his trouble. He takes the money like it's nothing, while the lord keeps showering him with praise for how fast and sharp he works. Boric clocked it instantly. The mage wasn't just working for a living, he was absolutely obsessed with money. And yeah, our boy finally fesses up. He's a total vulgar mess, and there's no hiding it. Boric snaps in with a fresh nightmare. A suspicious drug is getting sold around the area, and it's raising alarms. That mysterious word snags the mage's focus for just a heartbeat. The lord snaps his gaze on him, suspicion flaring instantly, and demands to know if he's somehow involved. Our boy instantly drops in a burst of panic, shaking his head and denying he has anything to do with it. And the lord finally backs down, sending shockwaves through the mages and easing their hidden, hard-held relief. Back in his office, Lord Boric sends his guest packing with a casual wave. He slumps back in his chair, grinning like it all went exactly his way. He bursts into wild laughter, taunting the mage for getting bought that easily, claiming this one job would rake him in a tenfold return on every coin he put in. A sinister grin cracks across his face. Please, he can rake in profit without taking a single risk. Meanwhile, our boy catches up with an elf girl, and she presses him, demanding to know how the negotiations went. She introduced herself as Sohn, an unheard-of, low-ranking elf, and then looked him in the eye and called him master. He insists it all went flawlessly, but she doesn't even pretend. Her face says she's not impressed. She leans in carefully and asks, voice low, whether he struck a deal with someone else. Sohn flat-out refuses to lift a finger for Lord Boric, the kind of repulsive monster no one should ever tolerate. An outburst that instantly ticks off our boy. He snaps at her to calm down. He rips into her for calling the lord names, but she just pouts right back like she's got no shame. They're furious because Boric is about to snatch all the credit and leave them with scraps of their reward. Our boy says straight up that hauling the body straight to the knights was way too risky because once they got grilled, they'd be erased fast, because knowing too much was the same as signing their death warrant. She finally gets it. Owning up to the bounty is the smart move, and it throws him a huge wave of relief. Back in his office, Boric smirks and boasts that only a true noble can boss around the knight's order. He knows he's cutting deals by skimming the official reward, but he still keeps paying them out of his own private money. This cheerful mage strolls off like he owns the world, ready to spend that money however he damn well pleases. Sohn slumped in a corner, sulking and muttering that someday they'll finally find real jobs. He snaps at her to hurry, barking that she can't get left behind, but she's suddenly thrown off by a researcher streaking past, fully locked in on his work. She grips the pendant at her throat, and bam, an idea slams into her like lightning. Then it hits her, pure inspiration, and she decides to land a job at a research institute. This mage freezes at her declaration, but her mind is already made up. This girl couldn't stop gushing about her master's jaw-dropping inventions. One of them remembered her pleading him for a single word, just one, and he leaned in and told her, I already have an incredible assistant. That memory hits her like lightning, pure, blissful joy floods through her. Our boy trudged beside her, and it was obvious. Her annoyance was right there for everyone to see. He grabs her attention and tells her to wake up, because he's got no patience for this right now. And right away, she snatches him by the arm and demands to know what's got him so wrecked. Her expression twisted in pure shock when his demeanor snapped into something completely different. He lays it out, for a bunch of reasons. What he's doing is totally, outright illegal. This girl looks completely lost, demanding to know what he even means by illegal. He slams his finger at the compound magic cannon they relied on and declares it a forbidden weapon. And as she clocks that it sucks the magic dry, he's already focused on one thing, using it the most efficient way possible. This blade doesn't just fight back, it pays with souls, turning living people into disposable bullets. With a grim voice, he declares that in this world, living sacrifices are just a well-known, accepted method. This brutal truth hits the young elf like a thunderclap, freezing him in total, horrified silence. He keeps going, laying out how they're even given high-grade recovery potions work, and why they're so powerful. Because it costs less than hauling prisoners or dragging in people from enemy nations. That's exactly why his tech got banned and shoved behind sealed doors. If he belonged to any official organization, they wouldn't let him build or use something like that. So this is exactly why going solo is his perfect shot. Just as their grim conversation ends, they finally charge into their destination. A place where the young elf finally spills the truth. She can't stand it. He lets out a confident, knowing laugh, like he already sees what's coming. They've finally rolled into the city's loud, chaotic slave market. A cold, sinister grin stretches across his face as he drawls. Well then. Inside the market, elf women are trapped in captivity, their faces screaming nothing but despair. He whips his eyes over the cages, hunting for the ones that could power his next move. A stunning mermaid gets paraded in as a jaw-dropping featured attraction, and the announcer blares that the main event is seconds away from kicking off. A ferocious wolf man storms onto the stage, and with him steps an elite beastkin hunter, and in a colossal hall, the auction kicks off. Bids blast off at a jaw-dropping 20 million. Outside the grand auction house, a massive crowd packs in, buzzing with anticipation for the event. Sohn glares in disgust, sneering at the non-stop chaos filling the place. While the wealthy patrons in the private boxes started pouring in bids, the price shot through the roof. And our boy clocks it. Those elites are throwing their money at the high-class stuff. Sohn points to the back alley and tells her that's where they hawk the leftovers. Same deal as before, just like she went through. They stumble onto a rickety little tent, light years away from the grand main auction house. Inside, our boy strolls up to the shopkeeper and shoots a casual, "So how's business?" like it's no big deal. The scruffy merchant slaps on a greasy grin and rubs his hands together like he's about to close the deal. That merchant grumbles that this kid is the only regular he ever gets. He blurted out that the shop was totally deserted, no one else in sight. Our boy smirks like, finding a new supplier is gonna be a nightmare, and you can tell he's already regretting it. A desperate merchant yanks at him, begging, "Buy something please," like starvation is seconds away. Sohn snaps it into his mind. This is the very spot where he paid to buy her, while the merchant cowers and grovels on the floor. She flashes a bright smile and blurts out, thankful to have finally met someone as great as her master. This merchant is totally stunned. He can't figure out which one is actually the slave. Our boy straight up ignores the whole scene and asks the merchant what he's got cooking today. This merchant practically lunges forward, jabbing a finger at a huge cage, ready to flaunt his goods. He yanked the lid off a cage packed with dark elves, and then tried selling them for a bargain price. Boy watches as they smirk, because dark elves bring an insane amount of magic power to the table. The conversation swings to the real perks of elves, like how their sharp ears always hear everything coming. And with their hunter instincts, they fit the wild like it was made for them. At the slave market, the trader's jaw drops when the mage can't even name his own stock. But our boy just pulls out a bag of gold and promises, "I'll buy every one of you." This trader grins and tells you he's got a few forbidden goods stashed in the back, none of them on the menu. A single sentence hits the mage like a spark. Instantly, his curiosity explodes. Slips into a grim cage at the back of the shop, right into the dark, where a crew of stubborn beast women snarl back at him, refusing to look away. This trader snaps a warning. These rebels are so far gone they're useless for anyone's plans. They're a whole race of beast folk. Thick, wild fur coats them from head to toe. Even with magic barely sputtering, their physical strength hits like a wildfire, violent, explosive, and unstoppable, though. Even for simple, brutal work, ogres still steamroll the competition as the superior pick. Your boy sizes up their power, plotting how to use it, if he can keep it under his control. That traitor blurts out the truth. He's a prisoner of a tribal war, traded away by his own kind. They've been tossed from one ruthless owner to the next ever since. He asks if the mage still wants to buy them, and the way he says it drips with mockery, like the whole idea is ridiculous. But our boy rubs his chin hard, thinking like his next move could change everything. He stares through the cage bars and freezes when he finds their eyes, empty, lifeless, and gone. Still, a few of them stare back, refusing to break, eyes blazing with stubborn defiance. He clocks a razor-sharp, predator-like glint burning in one of their eyes. A sight hits him like a truck, pure shock, total surprise. A cold, calculating grin blooms across his face as he finally makes his choice. He spins back toward the stunned trader and fires back, asking if that offer is really, genuinely legit. This mage booms that he's hunting for the ones who have fire in their eyes, and the trader practically eats it up with delight. Our boy stands tall, grinning like he just hit the jackpot, because he found exactly the kind of merchandise he'd been hunting for. These brand new elves stare at what's happening with faces twisted in total despair. But those cat girls lock eyes with him and dare him to back down, announcing, loud and fearless, that he's their new master. Our boy steps forward and introduces himself as the Mage Gekaku, then swings the doors open and welcomes them to his service. He and Son push their brand new acquisitions deep into a thick, remote forest, right into the L. The elves can't stop whispering in panic, wondering where he's about to drag them off to. They're thrown back into the brutal misery of their past, convinced this place is nothing more than another brutal prison with a new name. One of them seethed, saying people stuck at the bottom don't get to choose anything. Then Son pivots with a bright grin and waves them in, shouting that they've finally reached their base. This view spills into a huge compound, where demihumans live and work side by side in total peace. Some are out in the fields working their hearts out, while others kick back and rest. Everything looks peaceful, and inside the buildings, more elves are rushing around, grinding through their own tasks at full speed. New arrivals stand there, mouths agape, completely frozen in disbelief at the wild, unexpected sight. Gekaku leans in and mocks their bleak guesses, asking what the heck they thought was going to happen. Suddenly, a little kid and a tall woman barreled toward them, shouting a heartwarming welcome. Son and the two others stepped up to meet the newcomers, grinning as they welcomed them like they'd truly been waiting. These fresh slaves are stunned. Everyone around them is dressed in fine clothes and looks totally healthy. The townsfolk rush in to calm their nerves, insisting, "We've been right where you are, trust us." One of the cat girls suddenly yanks Gekaku's robe, staring at him like she's lost her words, and blurts his name in pure confusion. Pressing them for answers, he demanded to know what this place was and why every race had gathered here. He points out that beast men are built for hard labor, but it's weird as hell to find elves showing up here. Gekaku smirks and drops the truth like it's already set in stone. At least, he knows that much about the world. Elf stared down at the ground, grumbling that they'd been warned they were nothing but useless. He whips around to them with a knowing grin, and you can practically feel it. He's a mage. And then he goes, This whole compound is his personal army, a hidden squad chained to a lord's command. An ogre effortlessly hoists barrels like they weigh nothing, flexing pure, unstoppable strength right in front of you. He explains that their ogre disguises aren't just for show. They turn into heavy infantry and smash the battlefield, while the elves are slammed with the job of whipping up medicine and potions. And the goblins get yanked into service, repurposed to man the artillery cannon. A cat girl keeps replaying the rolls like she can't believe it. Then heavy infantry rolls in with artillery shaking the ground. This horned woman and the elf girl burst into blushes, completely stunned and secretly thrilled by how things were finally turning out for them, declaring they could even serve as his secret elite unit. Their minds race as they imagine themselves as true elites. But our boy storms in and ruins their dream, calling them unsold, pathetic little slave workers. His savage honesty rips through them, and they burst into tears, swearing he's nothing but cruel. But he cuts straight through it and tells them there's no point pretending to be someone they're not. That cat girl stands her ground and vows she'll still give her all for him, even with the way he talked to her, demanding to know if they'll really be his secret unit, working for him in silence, behind the scenes. This question absolutely floors the other girls, like the thought itself might be real. But he shuts them down, saying it's pointless for low-level soldiers to burn themselves out. Remember, staying healthy means keeping your mind sharp and your body strong. He steers them off right then, grinning as he promises he'll reveal the secret to becoming soldiers. Their adventure suddenly spills into a huge, strange building they've never seen before. And the cat girl stares with pure worry, then blurts, "What is this place?" A claw-like mechanical hand, wrapped in fur crackles, with raw, earth-shaking power. They're unveiling the ogre suits, and it looks like they're plugged into some kind of charging station. This whole crew of girls locks eyes in stunned awe at what's standing right in front of them. With a grin, he unveils his masterpiece, a deadly magical flesh golem weapon. These girls stare in shock, realizing the rules change by race, like there are different types for each one. He tells them the elite is 40 times stronger, but this suit cranks it up even more, doubling their power. With those magic tools and relentless training, they all unlock mind-blowing strength. This cat girl stammers, blurting out, "Is this about earning merit?" Gekaku smirks like a mastermind and declares it, straight up, military achievement. He tells them, right to their faces, that they're not disposable pawns meant to get thrown away after one fight, telling them they don't just need anything, they need a real, burning sense of pride. His words hit the beast women like lightning, stunning them and filling them with hope. They replay the moment someone hit them with the harsh truth, and it crushed them so badly they felt completely dejected. But Gekkaku's got a wild plan. He's going to return their confidence, and you can feel the momentum building as he speaks. A flashback rips open the past. Brutal beatings rain down on them for daring to defy, and then it lands on one of them, saying how they just kept stumbling again and again, losing every single time. But Gekkaku swears that right here, they'll finally get real experience and level up. This lead cat girl swallowed hard, and as her courage sharpened, her resolve hardened. With blazing, glowing eyes, the whole crew bursts out. Yes, we want that power. Fists clenched tight, they roar out, screaming the warrior's pride like it's the only thing that matters. That view lit up Gekkaku's face with a satisfied smile. He can't help but think, man, I scored big with this purchase. Then the story slams straight into the city of a ruthless, powerful count. A guard bursts into an office, clutching an urgent report like the whole world hinges on it. 10 armed ogres have stormed a farming village, and if anyone thinks you can ignore that, they're about to learn the hard way. This count demands an instant answer, right now, to crush the crisis before it spirals. Lord Borek smirks and promises, I'll send my own men to deal with it. Meanwhile, in the occupied village, the ogres jeer at the human kingdom like it's already fallen. Borek just sits there thinking like, that's it, a simple threat won't scare us off. These ogres can't wrap their heads around it. This is really their new home, and they're calling it a dream. They tore into the feast, cheering wildly and showering the humans with praise for their generosity. Their leader bursts into laughter, swearing he'll hand their benefactor anything he wants. Meanwhile, just down the road in some little village, a bunch of ogres are going wild at a loud, messy feast, Buat. But before the cheers can even finish, a terrifying noise blasts in from outside, and their celebration instantly dies. Their leader snorted and waved it off like that sound was no big deal at all. As a fist clamps down on the sword's hilt from the outside, tightening its grip with pure intent, and another fighter clamps down tight on a small wooden shield. Gekkaku stands locked in position, just about to fire the signal. He's finally unveiled his brand new unit, and he's handing them weapons as they step into their very first mission. This cat girl mutters that their gear looks utterly shabby, as the dark elf watches, dread creeps in like a chill. Gekkaku flashes a smirk, so confident it practically dares their target to try and stop them. Inside, the ogres decided the intruders were done for, time to teach them a lesson. A sly grin blooms across Gekkaku's face as his master plan finally kicks into gear. Now the story rips us into a castle, where the new request finally gets approved. A tough little subjugation job, take down 10 run-of-the-mill ogres. These brutes have been tearing through tiny farming villages, snatching food and supplies for their next strike. Zone spits that their behavior is pathetic, like it's powered by nothing but raw, base cravings, demanding whether the new recruits are really going to hang back and watch everything from the sidelines. He grins and confirms this is the perfect chance for them to watch everything up close. Gekkaku snaps his focus to the new unit and orders them to storm the front lines with him. Back in the village, the ogres swagger out into the street with their bellies stuffed. Their leader slams down the order and says it's time to get moving, then points at the women up ahead, like they're the next target for the whole exercise. This cat girl stares ahead, nerves screaming, sweat slips down her face, then the scene cuts off. And the dark elf is absolutely frozen in pure, paralyzing terror the moment she lays eyes on them. His tiny squad tightens up, standing firm as an ogre horde barrels closer. These fresh recruits were completely shaken, terrified of the battle that was about to slam into them. Gekkaku jabbed forward and snapped at his fresh recruits to watch exactly how his forces crush in battle. A bright magic circle flares to life on the ground, screaming that the operation is about to begin. Complex runes throb with massive, trapped power, like they're moments from exploding. This scene cuts back to the magic cannon they hauled into a far-off village. These younger elves stare ahead, nerves rattling as they scramble to ready the massive weapon. Its barrel hangs there like a threat, locked on some far-off target you can't even see. A mysterious signal blares through the air, and a magic circle suddenly ignites under one of the elves. She shouts the command, and everyone pours their magic into the cannon like a storm. These other elves snap to attention, ready to unleash their power at the command. One of them screams at the others to go all in, nothing held back, not even a shred of strength. Their determination burns bright, every step is for their master out there, on the front lines. This cannon's base throbs with a deep, hungry hum, drinking in the massive magical energy pouring into it. A sphere of raw power forms at the very tip of the barrel, packed tight and ready to explode forward. With a deafening roar, the weapon finally blasts out its devastating payload. A blinding flash detonates across the distant sky, and the hit lands perfectly. This aftermath leaves drained elves being hauled off to finally get some rest. Back in the present, Gekaku steps back and orders his forces to finish the rest of the work. He faces his entire army, and a glowing orb hangs in the air above his hand. He smirks and tells them, this time is gonna be different, like he's already cracked the whole plan. Then he starts giving it fires the command that kicks off the assault. Aiming right at their mark, the horned beastman, pure power in a body, tightens up, ready to get hit. Then boom, projectiles start hammering down from the sky like a deadly rainstorm. He slammed the enemy forces with a massive scatter shot, catching them totally off guard. The beastman leader unleashes a rage-filled roar, snapping to the truth. Somewhere, a mage is hiding. Gakako flashes a calm hand gesture, and from right where it's safe, she commands the battlefield like it's under her control. A huge fanblade weapon gets tossed aside, and just like that, a brand new test kicks off. An army of ogre warriors roars defiantly, fists clenched, ready to battle for freedom, for free. They sprint in full force, sure they'll wipe out that lone mage without breaking a sweat. Gekaku just smirks, like he already knows every single thing that's about to happen and how it's going to end. This lead ogre suddenly snaps his senses to a fresh threat creeping in from his side. A colossal shadow-drenched monster crawls out of the darkness, flashing a grin so sinister it feels like a threat. A towering white-furred beast hoists a massive club high above its head, set to smash down in the next heartbeat. These ogres are boxed in tight, surrounded by monstrous beasts, and their confidence gets ripped apart in an instant. A warrior sealed behind a demonic mask stares at everything unfolding with ice-cold eyes. This ogre leader can only freeze, stunned beyond belief, as an unstoppable force crashes down on him. With a thundercrack roar, the beasts slam into the battlefield and crush the ogres completely. Gekaku leans in to watch the one-sided fight, and wears a look so satisfied it almost feels bored. He tells them it was all a trap, baiting those cocky ogres and drawing them right into it. One of the beast women can't even contain her joy. She's thrilled. She finally crushed the men of her own kind. Then he whips around to the newcomers and demands to know what they really think of the results. Catgirls stand there in stunned silence, wondering if they're nothing but forgotten, useless leftovers. The horned woman stands tall and declares, loud and proud, that the elves are coming with them too. But the dark elves are left reeling, because they were told those leftovers could never beat them. Gekaku just smirks and shuts them down, telling them their assumptions are dead wrong. With his weapons, he basically declares, brute strength is totally unnecessary. He spreads a hard-hitting plan across the battlefield, putting the ogres in front of the elves while the elves strike back, backed up from behind. One of the elves clocks the nightmare in front of them, 40 against 10, and panic starts to sink in, but still Gekaku shrugs it off and admits, yeah, even with that edge, half of them are almost certainly going to die. Even these defeated ogres have to admit it, real soldiers or not, the outcome would be exactly the same. Meanwhile, Son quietly gets to work, stirring together a recovery potion like it's her lifeline. That horned woman cheers hard like, a clean win with zero sacrifice. That feeling is the best of all. Even the youngest elf can't help grinning at the feel-good energy hanging in the air. And the beast women are bursting with joy, finally realizing their own worth, as Gekaku grins wide, bragging that practical combat is the ultimate entertainment. One of the cat girls can't wait, she blurts out, so when do we finally get to fight? He swears their custom weapons are almost finished, and the girls burst into cheers like they can't contain the hype. Gekaku snaps his focus back to the silent dark elves, demanding to hear what they think. They quake with terror, stammering that they'll follow every single command he throws at them. He just brushes it off, laughing as he remembers how his other recruits were just like that at the start. The story slips into a hush, moonlight washes over the compound, and everything goes still. Where a lone dark elf sits in the shadows, replaying her people's terrifying reputation as night hunters, so watch out, because she won't forget. But she knows all too well, once the beastmen caught them, there was nothing they could do. She can't help but wonder, can they really trust this weird new master, or will their gut keep warning them the whole way? Suddenly, her sharp ears catch a voice calling out, who's next for the night? She turns toward the glowing tent as a voice booms, calling out that it's time to take her medicine. Inside the horned woman, she drinks the potion and thanks him for helping her wipe out her own kind. She closes the distance to Gekaku and snaps, I'm doing this for my master's sake. She pleads for him to look after her, and he groans like her attitude is pure trouble. An empty potion bottle sits on the floor beside a heap of discarded clothes. That horned woman is blushing hard, clearly savoring her private time with the gay Kaku. Inside, the dark elf clamps a hand over her mouth, trembling in pure, stunned shock at what she's seeing. She clocks it instantly. One of the others is getting special treatment from their master, and she starts to feel it. Her face lights up with surprise, and then heat floods in, pure embarrassment, while a whole line of other horned women waits with bared impatience, desperate to be next. The first woman keeps up her blazing, no-holds-barred treatment of their master, like she refuses to slow down for a second. Gikaku stands in the tent, scanning the chaos, demanding, "Who's next?" as a woman collapses in front of him, spent and shaking. A horned woman barrels ahead, practically vibrating with excitement, announcing, loud and proud, that it's finally her turn to get the reward. Outside, a crowd of women lines up in tense silence as the tent's silhouette flickers, showing just enough of what's going on inside, while the rest collapse on the ground, utterly drained by the celebration. Her horned smile lit up with pure bliss, and it was enough to satisfy him completely. As another drops to the ground, completely spent, but grinning through pure happiness, a dark elf stares in total terror, panicking about the brutal ordeal they're being forced to endure. The very next morning, Gikaku beams at the nervous dark elf, and she can't even finish her sentence. Still shaken from what happened the night before, he nervously asks if he's okay. He breaks down the terrifying truth. 2 forbidden potions exist, one that fuels strength and one that crushes it into weakness. Then he leans in and warns her, "Keep this locked away. Don't let a single soul, not even our Lord, find out." As he strides through the camp, a trio of elves comes sprinting up to greet him, right there, like they're about to have their teacher's attention. He presses a hand to his stomach, and a bizarre chill shoots through him. It hits him so hard that he freezes for a moment, completely baffled. These elves hit him like a flashback, straight to yesterday's win over the ogres, the moment it all went right. They proudly claim, "We gave it everything," and then demand their reward later. Gikaku grins warmly, promising he gets it, and that he'll handle everything from here. A dark elf watches them vanish in the distance, smugly thinking, "I keep my promises." But just as her thoughts start to race, she catches sight of him getting completely mobbed by his adoring followers. Weeks later, inside Lord Borek's territory, word hits like thunder. The ogres have been conquered. They jumped in, praising the swift, no-nonsense moves that crushed the threat before it could strike. Lord Borek soaks in the praise with a smug grin, brushing it off like it's nothing more than the duty he lives for. He laughs, realizing just how effortless it is to chase fame by throwing someone else into the dirt. Meanwhile, in the royal capital, a messenger slams down a report on Count Borek, and everyone leans in to hear it. A night update hits. They're cracking into Borek's connections right now. A ruthless, powerful noblewoman snaps that the whole previous incident was nothing but a staged sham. A subordinate gasps that AVR is already defeated. Then Borek coldly orders the body sent. She smirks like, "See, this is the Lord's true power, and that of his subordinates too." But her aide frets that the report was tampered with for selfish motives, and she smirks at him and asks straight up if he thinks he's earned some punishment. Then he rethinks it at the last second and decides to do it properly. He's making official contact with the mage instead. Her aide just freezes in shock, staring at her like, "Are you really giving him a chance?" He can't wrap his head around that man being useful, like you hear a sneeze from miles away and still don't believe it's real. Then, Lord Borek sits there mulling over it like, "Yeah, my fame is definitely climbing." Then the story whips us up to the roof of a much simpler building. Just as Gikaku speaks up, he drops a fresh subjugation request from the Count, like a bombshell. Their eyes lock on a pack of bandits, ex-soldiers who bolted from the army and turned to crime. Gikaku watches those rowdy targets like a hawk, wondering if his troops can finally see the difference now. And the elf snaps that dragging the magic cannon would chew up way too much time. So the horned woman nods and admits they'll need a whole new strategy to pull off this mission. This lead cat girl decides to ditch the fight and let the other beastmen handle it, tail wagging, totally buzzing with anticipation for the battle that's about to explode. This horned woman snaps her fist tight, and her face breaks into a huge, hungry grin like she can't wait for what's next. A cat girl named Demora springs into action, grinning like she's finally been handed her moment to fight. Gikaku grins, telling them to dig deep and light up their fighting spirit. He rallies his troops, then throws the front lines, complete trust, straight into the hands of the beast women, while handing the dark elves a whole new, critical role. They're told you don't have to throw down, just find where the enemy is hiding. A dark elf finally nods and accepts the deal, stepping up like, "All right, I'll speak for it." But Fofos fires back, asking if they can really wipe out trained human soldiers that easily. Gekaku smirks like he already knows, clocking that his fresh recruits are still brimming with the same old nerves. The elf remembers someone warning him to stay sharp and never recklessly strike the human armies. But Gekaku swats away her fears and tells her, that's only half the truth. If their opponents are just bandits, then that's nothing to worry about at all. He tells them before anything goes down, we've got to find the target first. He slams maps into the hands of his fresh elf squad, barking, "Start searching." A tiny squad of elves creeps through the thick, tangled forest, their nerves buzzing as they go, until one of them suddenly hears voices slipping out from behind a bush. She leans in just enough to catch sight of bandits crowding around a crackling campfire, laughing and toasting like they own the night. From the shadows of tall grass, a brand new group braces themselves and gets ready to move. And boom, steel sings as a sword gets yanked free, ready to smash the ambush waiting inside the human kingdom. A group of that crew of former soldiers turned bandits, and when confidence finally clicked, they merged into one unstoppable force. Their leader scoffs like it's already over, swearing no enemy can stand a chance. Then everything snaps with a lightning flash. Slashback spots Gekaku's troops sprawled out, half asleep, soaking up peacetime while the other soldiers grumble non-stop about the boring grunt work they're stuck doing. A big-time bandit roars that it's not fair how good the others get treated. His comrades nod along, thrilled that with the bandits finally gone, they can live however they want. They start harassing the captured women from the village they just raided, and they stroll away like nothing happened, savoring every last scream of their victims. That hulking bandit bares his teeth, then flashes a nasty grin as he blurts out a crude comment about one of the women, right when a rock rockets straight into his face, smashing it with pure, brutal force. His leader gapes in total disbelief, and then he gets blasted backward, sent flying through the air. This commander blasts out, "We're under attack," and roars to rally his men before the chaos swallows them. But before he can even flinch, another rock screams straight for his head. He barely swings his sword in time, and the projectile scrapes past at the last second. Bandits lunged into a frenzy, yelling as they slammed their shields up to stop the incoming rocks. Their leader snaps his gaze upward and locks onto the attacker lurking in the trees. Two brand new, totally unfamiliar boots are planted dead, still on a high branch. Cat girls in brand new battle gear tower over the chaos, staring down at the mess they just unleashed. Below, the bandits blow off the danger, convinced their enemies are stuck up high, but the cat girls lock in their target's location and are already lining up to strike. The bandit leader bares his teeth, finally catching on. This isn't humans he's fighting, it's beastmen. He rallies his troops, sneering that humans are just an ordinary breed, and absolutely no one to underestimate. A quick diagram spells it out. Elves get wrecked by brute force, but when magic hits, they light up like legends, while ogres are brutally tough, they can't cast a single spell. This leader smirks and says humans ain't built half as tough as ogres, but they're not magically useless like them either. He seals the argument in smoke and sparks by summoning a magic circle, his very own. He bellows that on the battlefield, a trained soldier can do the impossible. Anything is within reach, squeezing out a searing blast of energy straight at the cat girl perched above. But the cat girl just smirks, calm as the blow rushes toward her. Fangs flashed as she braced for the strike. This magical projectile rockets into its target and erupts in a blinding, brilliant flash. He leaves the bandit leader totally dumbfounded, staring in disbelief at what he just sees. A blinding light erupts at the impact site, and then right out of the smoke, the cat girl rockets forward, totally untouched by the blast. These bandits gawk in total disbelief, staring at her like she just cheated death. She and her crew dropped from the trees like predators, eyes locked on their prey. He launched straight into the enemy formation's heart. They plunge onto the bandits, charging in full fury to tear into them. The bandit leader snaps into action, shouting to know who's out there, totally rattled by the sudden attack. Then the moment drags on into a tense, unfinished. A projectile slams into a thick tree branch with a shockingly brutal burst of force, while another cracks a smaller twig with ruthless precision. These guys stare up, totally baffled. What kind of trick is this supposed to be? Right when their leader gets hit straight on the head, he's left reeling and completely stunned. His whole unit goes stone still, eyes locked on the silent, empty woods, hunting for where that signal came from. One of them blurts out, "Did they run?" But the leader just smirks. This wasn't a retreat, it was a sneaky ambush. A quick lesson rips the mystery open, and proves that camouflage is way harder than it ever looks. Hunting down a handful of targets in a place you already know like the back of your hand is almost too easy. But it's almost impossible when you don't even know how many are lurking in the shadows. These bandits scream in pure fury, stunned that their enemies just disappeared without a trace. Up in the treetops, two camouflaged beast women crouch perfectly still, watching every move like predators closing in. Then one of the cat girls flashes a confident, predatory smirk that feels like trouble. She rockets off her perch and hurls yet another projectile straight at the group below. The bandit leader's eyes blew wide with shock, because it was happening again, just like before. They're totally boxed in as a hailstorm of objects smashes down on them. This leader actually believes his shield can shrug off mere stones, then reality slams him hard because he's dead wrong. His face twisted into pure terror as what he sees hits him like a punch. They're not rocks at all, just tiny round bombs, each one spitting a fuse. A secret diagram exposes their dark purpose: pottery packed with gunpowder and loaded with deadly shrapnel. The leader's blood runs cold as a terrified scream rips out of them, because right in front of their eyes, hand grenades are about to go off. A beast woman clenched her fists as a gigantic explosion tore through the clearing, shaking everything to the bone with the smoke still curling in the air. The beast women's squad drops out of the trees like hunters on the move. Boots slammed the earth like they had a mission. The survivors charged in on the fallen bandits, ready to wipe up every last trace of the battle. This bandit chief is sprawled in the dirt, staring up with pure rage after getting crushed as one of the cat girls leans in and asks if he's scared of them now. He shoots back, yelling that of course he is, then spits disgusting demi-humans like it's a curse. But Damer flashes that wide, predatory grin and soaks up his terror like it's pure sugar. Gekaku stands there as his troops cheer, because the mission is finally a success. Catgirls vault through the air like they've been fired from a cannon, and their brand new gear makes them weigh basically nothing. Their vests were built to haul throwing stones and every vital supply they needed. But here's the pack's secret. There's a hidden compartment packed with a special lightweight gas. They rigged their gear into makeshift balloons, and suddenly the whole load got way lighter. So they slipped from branch to branch, silent as shadows. Gekaku grins with pride. His high-mobility soldier concept is finally proven, and it works. Those cat girls are bursting with joy. This is finally their shot to prove they're worth it. A dark elf just watches, stunned that those trained humans can be wiped out so easily. As the bandits crumple to the sand, you can tell it all. Deserted the army for nothing, and now they're paying for it. Gekaku clocks it instantly. Sure, the human army is powerful, but these deserters, they're no real threat. The human military's real power isn't some magic trick. It's the sheer, crushing weight of their numbers. And it had the nerve to summon reinforcements, or slam the brakes and fall back to fortified positions. But these bandits are totally cut off. No backup, no escape routes, nowhere to run. Without their numbers, Gekaku tells them, relax, none of this is scary. Fofo finally clicks with his own strategy. Now he gets why he'd been so fearless from the start. She scans the fallen men, pity flashing in her eyes for what just happened. But Gekaku shows zero mercy, calling their bandit acts way too cruel. He admits it's hypocritical coming from his own mouth, and that truth only cranks up Fafai's worries even more. Suddenly, the whole world resets to a brand new morning, fresh intentions burning in the air. Gekaku and Son stride through Borax territory's loud, chaotic market, weaving through the crowd like they own the place. One of the young elves blurts out, "Wait, are you really saying it's okay for me to take a reward?" And she bursts through the market, sprinting after whatever she's dying to buy. A merchant comes roaring up to her, shouting offers like his life depends on it, trying to sell every last bit of his wares. He parades a shiny pile of jewelry, swearing every single piece came straight from the elven forest. He jabs his finger at the bracelet, yelling that it's insanely rare and worth a fortune. This elf snaps his head toward Gekaku, and Gekaku's cheeks flush because he hates being stared at. But she insists it's nothing more than simple crafts made by struggling kids, work they cling to just to survive. Gekaku snaps at her to stay quiet, or he'll slam the brakes on everything and refuse to buy her a single thing. She panics on the spot, yanks his cloak into her grip, and then snatches back her own statement before it can land. In the end, he hands her the bracelet, and her face lights up with pure, unstoppable joy. She beams as she clutches his arm, soaking up the rare feeling that life is finally treating her kindly for once. He tells her to push herself, and to never let this feeling slip away. Back in the castle, everyone crowds around Gekaku, praising him for wiping out the bandits. Snags a massive reward for yet another successful secret mission. Lord Borek smirks and says that beating the former knights must have been a piece of cake for him. Then he cuts off with a grin, "Take F." Gekaku waves it off with a humble grin, insisting it was pure luck. Then a flashback hits. One of the cat girls hands him a private reward just for him. Borek shoots him a smug smirk and shoves a letter of thanks into his hands, like he's lighting a fire under his spirit. Gekaku just smirks and shrugs, like the count's payment is reward enough. He fixes his mind on the real prize, his loyal beast women's gratitude. Borek bursts into laughter thinking, man, what kind of life will Gekaku forge once he's got even more power? Gekaku just smirks and accepts the bag of coins, locking in on the prize he actually wants. Then he snaps it into focus. This isn't a reward at all, it's an advance for the next job. Lord Borek's face changes in an instant. He realizes a noble is headed for the castle. Gekaku finally clicks that this isn't some minor deal at all. The count's status is way bigger than he ever imagined. Lord Borek smirks, clearly clocking that Gekaku has more than earned his keep. He brushes our boy off, shoves the cash into his hands, and orders him to stay out of noble business. Gekakistan stood there in silence, his back turned on the arrogant count like he didn't even notice him. A flicker of irritation snaps across his eye, and you can almost see his real feelings underneath. He snaps on a bright, cheerful mask and plays the perfect eager subordinate. Borek smugly nods it through, fully convinced that Gekaku's loyalty is locked in for good. The door slams shut as Gekaku gets hauled off, and the count is left alone with his twisted schemes. All alone, Borek sneers, brushing Gekaku off like it's nothing but a helpless little pawn. He figures that if he pays the mage will do anything he demands. He slips the key in and unlocks that private drawer with a soft click. Then he yanks it open to reveal what's inside. Right beside him sits a scroll, one brutal secret he's been hiding from his so-called underling. He snatches the document from the table, and a full-blown plan ignites in his head. A formal letter from the Knight Order arrived, lavishing praise on his latest victories. This letter drops a wild invitation, begging you to step into their elite, prestigious ranks. Borek reads it and immediately thinks, if Gekaka ever finds out, he'll snatch the credit for everything. He can't help but picture Gekaku swaggering, bragging his glory to that noblewoman back in the capital. In his head, it's laughable that a commoner could climb up to become a knight, yet here he is, a noble watching it happen. He tightens his grip on the letter, realizing this knighthood is the one road to glory with. With pure fire in his eyes, he roars that he's going to become a knight. Meanwhile, Gekaku and Son stroll side by side, and he's acting like nothing in the world can touch him. She asks if he's happy, and he admits it's a massive relief to finally be free from the nobles. He realizes how good it feels when his employer actually values him. His mind was already on fire, sprinting ahead with plans for research and brand new equipment. But Fafos barges in, eyes wide, and whispers the rumor. Borek got invited to the Knight Order. Gekaku's practically salivating at the thought. He's sure Borek would never, ever dare to take that offer. Lord Borek fidgets and insists he has to refuse, because his real mission is protecting everyone, even if it means hiding the truth. And Gekaku erupts in laughter, mocking how weak that powerful noble really is. Son's already disgusted by the moment, because they can't just stop and throw praise at him right then and there. As they weave through the crowded market, they suddenly spot a wild commotion. Soldiers are causing it. A merchant is jawing with the guards, swearing up and down he's got a valid license to sell his goods. But then a soldier raises a potion in one hand and slams a notice down, declaring that medicine illegal. The merchant freezes on the spot, stuttering that this is his best-selling product. While the crowd grumbles that this medicine fixes everything and they're desperate to get more, they won't shut up. One woman even swears that the potion pulled her own child back from the brink of illness. This soldier stonewalls every plea, refusing to let the merchant even breathe until they explain every side effect. From a safe distance, Son spots it, and those suspicious meds scream trouble. Gekaku spots the smuggled drug and suddenly realizes Borek isn't messing around. He's doing his job. This merchant snaps at the guards, while everyone gawks at the Son marvels, like the medicine's raking in money better than ever. And just like that, the young elf's eyes light up. He's hit on a brilliant idea. She beams at Gekaku and urges, let's start selling medicine to him. His horror hits hard as he blurts out that they're arresting someone for the exact same thing. But she won't back down. She swears their medicine is totally legal, deadly effective, and crafted by a genius mage. She pictures his fame exploding, with apprentices pouring in from every corner of the country. Gekaku clamps onto her face, and it instantly yanks her back to everything he warned her about before. That means they're flat out forbidden to make or sell any medicine at all. He shuts her down on the spot, flat out calling her idea dull and killing the moment. He paints a bleak picture of her grinding out the exact same potion from dawn till dusk, every single day. Tell me, are you really ready for a brutal, grind-your-bones kind of task? She quickly pulls back, choosing to walk away from the entire business venture. As they stride off, Gekaku murmurs to himself that, yeah, turning back was the smart move. Gekaku grins warmly beneath his hood, calming the young elf, but she still stares at him, caught between nerves and doubt. She dreams of a future where Borek squeezes every last bit of worth out of them, until they're completely worthless. As they stroll along, she swallows her fear and timidly calls out to her teacher. Sohn fires a question at them. Does he ever genuinely stop and ask himself what's best for all of them, because he's never sure he does? Which makes Gekaku flash a cocky, knowing smirk. He tells her, because you're my subordinate, I want to see you smiling, happy, no exceptions. And her eyes flare open, lightening up with a brand new rush of hope. But he makes it crystal clear. His own enjoyment comes first, always. She gladly accepts it, clinging to his arm like it's the best thing that ever happened, smiling wide the whole time. Weeks later, Borek's territory erupts in non-stop celebration across the streets. As the crowd buzzes with pure adrenaline, losing their minds over the unforgettable nights. Then the story slams into an imposing castle, the Night Order's fortress. Inside, a fully armored warrior drops into a seat and settles in for a formal meeting, revealing a female knight perched across from a man who looked like he couldn't even breathe. Her fingers settle on the hilt of an insanely ornate sword. She raises her voice and declares she's here to expose the man's true strength. His smug reflection flashes across the blade as he dares her to stop him, but the knight's razor-sharp gaze doesn't even blink at the threat. His bravado snaps like glass, and pure terror floods his face. Then the tale flips the timeline, yanking us back to the past to reveal exactly what led to all of this. Right there, the same man, Lord Borek, stares off with pure, boiling annoyance all over his face. An organizational chart lays out the Night Order's ruthless chain of command, top to bottom. And that's the terrifying truth. Whoever leads these elites isn't just powerful, they're sitting on the very top. Right as the female knight and her retinue storm into the castle for their meeting, a proud knight commander steps forward and introduces herself. I'm Tistria. It's got that mix of razor-sharp confidence and calm, unshakable authority. He stepped out wearing ornate armor that blazed under the light. Her powerful stance screamed, I'm top tier, all skill and authority. Lord Borek is utterly spellbound, practically fawning over her breathtaking beauty. But she stays cool and calmly tells them, I'm only here because my subordinates keep stirring up trouble. Her masked guard snaps into a rage, roaring that he'll punish Borek for his lecherous stare, forcing Tistria to send her guards outside, leaving them alone to talk in private. This subordinate can't help but wonder how far this lucky guy's insane good fortune will carry him. Alone at last, Tistria finally drops the mask and reveals her real mission, welcoming him into the Night Order. Borek is completely blown away by the offer, and he blurts out that he can't believe she's serious. And she confirms they're always hunting for talent, and his incredible record puts him right in the spotlight. Then she hands him the legendary role of Knight Commander, leaving Borek utterly stunned at the sheer size of that high rank. A flashback rolls in, and you see a young Borek hanging on every tale of heroic knights, dreaming big with every story. Watching the more naturally gifted recruits, I stared in pure awe. He gritted his teeth and trained non-stop, hell-bent on becoming a knight of his own. Even after just starting, he still earned praise from everyone for the drive he showed right off the bat. But after a whole year of brutal grind, he still hadn't made a real inch of progress. And finally, he threw in the towel, because the truth hit him hard. He had zero talent for it. Right now, he blurts out, are you sure it's really okay with all these knights already around? But Tistria drops a bombshell. She claims he single-handedly took down the mighty Aviarl. She's pushing to build a brand new Night Order, with him at the helm as its leader. Borek's face balloons with pure pride and joyful triumph. He asks if she's talking about his subordinates, and she answers with a bright smile and a clear yes. Borek daydreams about becoming a legendary knight commander, imagining Gekaku dropping to his knees, groveling at his feet in pure, breathless admiration, while others hiss no way in disbelief at his brand new subordinates. The thought of Gekaku working right under him has his whole body in a spin. But in real life, right before Tistria, he's just a total nervous wreck. She keeps her eyes locked on him, wearing a knowing, slightly amused grin as Borek clenches his fist, forcing himself to rein in his spiraling nerves. An older advisor storms in, trying to shut down history with disrespectful words. But she stays cool and calmly asks, "So, is there a problem?" This guy stammers, fighting to set the record straight about his subordinates. He said his own men smashed the deserters, believing a lowly creature like Gekaku could never possibly be behind it. He's ready to set everything straight. Then bam, he gets cut off out of nowhere as Borek suddenly rockets to his feet, shouting that he did it all by himself. Tistria's face stayed utterly blank as his outburst hit. She presses him and demands to know why he felt the need to lie. Borek snaps into panic and blurts out some excuse, claiming his men aren't ready yet, and he demanded that the higher-ups hand over elite knights from other orders. He lets out a huge sigh of relief, convinced his lie has finally been bought. Tistria nods in agreement, but she makes it clear there are still a few details we've got to verify. Questioning whether he's truly ready to step up and become the realm's protector. Borek puffs out his chest and declares, loud and fearless, that he's ready for anything. He fantasizes about a future where she'll be under his command, obeying his every whim to the letter. Batistria slices right through the illusion and demands, "Are you ready to die?" Without even a beat, he snatches up her terms and agrees on the spot. Tistri sizes up her incredible resolve, her gaze razor-sharp and refusing to back down. He swore that from this day on, he'd be her knight commander, under her command, no exceptions. Lord Borek is bursting with joy. His lifelong dream is finally, unbelievably coming true. But Tistria tightens her sword and readies herself to finally give her very first order. And that overconfident noble just nods along and agrees to whatever she demands. She boldly declares she'll be the one to personally test his legendary strength, daring him to stop one clean slash from her blade. Borek's smug confidence hangs in the air as he gives a simple, satisfied nod. But in the blink of an eye, his face twists into total confusion and then pure panic. Tistria flashes a grin, declares she's ready to start the test, and sends, hurling Borek into a full-blown frenzy as he pleads with her to just wait a moment. She bats her innocent eyes and asks if he needs a moment to ready a weapon or cast a spell. Then he smiles like it's nothing and says, "If you don't block, you're dead, no question." This noble's mind spins like a storm, frantically hunting for any escape out of this nightmare. As Tistri lays it out, she says it's her job to uncover the real power hiding in her subordinates. She demands that he prove his power, the same strength that wiped out the mighty Aviarl, reminding him that on the battlefield, nobody pauses to wait for you to get ready. Borek's eyes go wide with pure terror as he realizes the truth is about to blow up his lie. Then Tistria surges ahead, flashing a nightmare predatory grin. Her body blurred into motion as she lined up the final strike to take him down. But Borek crumples to the ground, clutching his pride as he begs her to forgive him. His forehead slammed into the floor with a brutal, bone-deep thud. He spills the truth. Everything he said was a lie, all to climb the ranks in the Night Order. Tistria looms over him with total calm, like she'd known the truth all along. She drops that revelation and leaves Borek utterly stunned. Tistria lines in and tells the kneeling Borek he owes the Night Order nothing, because he's not reporting to them. She can't trust a man who only worships appearances, so she'll recruit his men anyway and leave him with nothing. Lord Borek's expression contorts with pure, jaw-dropping horror. As he pictured Gekaku laughing at him for this humiliating spiral, he jerks to his feet, bellowing that this is nonsense, and that only he has the right to be a knight. In a split second, Tistria's blade clamps hard against his throat. With a terrified grin, Borek quickly nods and orders his subordinate to summon. A few days slam by, and the story snaps right back to the castle. Gekaku drifts down the halls, his mind racing as he wonders what mission Borek is about to drop on him today. He snaps his knuckles on the door, announces he's here, and barges inside. He barges in with a bright, cheerful greeting for the Count, and somehow manages to play his role flawlessly. But that sharp glint in his eye snaps into place, like he's hiding a suspicion he can't shake. Inside, he spots Borek down on one knee in front of the armored knight commander. She swings around and tells everyone her name, Tistria, the one standing at the top of the entire Night Order. Gekaku's smirk blooms under his hood as he sizes up this terrifying new player, and then he cuts himself off, like he can't believe what he's feeling. Then Fofos explodes into the room, panicked out of his mind over rumors that a top-level visitor is on the way, sending Gekaku reeling backward as the truth snaps into place with a terrifying click. With dread creeping in, he realizes Borek has set him up completely. From the floor, the Count smirks, like he can't believe this was supposed to be his big, glorious moment. As Gekaku's thoughts spiral, every illegal weapon he's built screams through his mind, because deep down, he's already convinced this is the end. Tistria shot him a calm smile and told him, "Don't worry, I'm not here to arrest you." She tells everyone her real mission is dead simple: snag only the best talent she can find. His streak of wins stacked up fast, from smashing AVRL to tackling a whole avalanche of other crises. Gakako can only sweat with nerves as she gushes about his insane track record. She smiles and straight up admits it's impossible to find the right words for someone this capable. Tistria admits she's just a messenger, but then she makes it crystal clear she holds him in the highest regard and Gekaku can't stop himself. He smirks hard, already feeling like he's been handed a real honor. The Knight Commander shoots him a warm, encouraging grin that instantly lifts his spirits. As he blurts his own name, Gekaku Hikium, his voice stutters, and disbelief hits him like a punch. Tistria's face tightens the moment she claims her authority as the Knight Commander, and with her hands stretched wide, she pulls him into the order like it's fate. Gekaku drops his head, utterly crushed by the offer. She keeps saying she's dead serious about making him the Knight Commander. She stares at him with a confident, knowing look, like she already sees how this ends. But Kakuge just stared up at his face, and the shock on him was so pure it hit like a punch, like he'd just seen something impossible. He shot a glance at the chandelier, then stumbled over his words, struggling to find a single sentence. Saying it's way too sudden to accept, especially coming from someone with that kind of high rank. Austria admits his achievements are undeniable, then slams in one catch, and he finally admits it. Everything he did wasn't all on him. She admits it, his methods are anything but normal, and that smirk spreads across his face as he remembers his wild, oddball subordinates. Her eyes narrowed like she just cracked the code, and a brand new plan snapped into place. She tells him it'll be way simpler than trying to slot him into an already existing unit, to swallow his whole organization up into the Knight Order. After a few more nail-biting wins, his crew gets officially inducted. Tistria shrugs and makes it crystal clear he can turn her offer down anytime. Gekaku jolts at the option, and a sharp suspicion hits. There's something far deeper hiding behind it, and she makes it crystal clear. If you refuse or fail, a formal investigation will be launched. She laughs, and in that instant, he finally realizes exactly how serious her threat is. When Gekaku clocks that this isn't a deal, but a demand, there's no way he can say no. Son crouches in the shadows, waiting for Gekaku to slip out the castle's back entrance, and she greets him with a massive, thrilled smile, welcoming him back like he never left. But Gekaku looks totally wiped out, like that meeting crushed his spirit. He breaks it down. His entire existence has been laid bare to the Knight Order. Son leans in, smirks at him, and points out that his prediction about Borek was totally wrong. He grips her face hard and blurts it out. Borek's weakness is laid bare, so there's no escape now, he has to confess. He left her to spiral into panic, because that clearly meant her teacher was seconds away from getting arrested. Gekaku whips her gaze back at her, totally stunned by the wild assumption she just made. She fires back, "Why are you here at all if you weren't arrested right away?" He explains that they just handed him a little time to talk it over with his team. Son keeps repeating the same word, totally clueless about what's happening at all, as he hesitates for a split second, then spills the entire offer. And she realizes they've just offered him the rank of Knight Commander for himself and his entire team. She's buzzing with excitement, but Gekaku slams the brakes and says they'll get treated just like every other elite unit, so she snaps her tone right away when it hits her. She realizes just how awful that would be. Then she abruptly freezes, because a brand new thought just hits her, and it's like, wait, she's basically saying, with your genius, there's no way you can't make this work. Her unshakable faith throws him completely off balance, and he just can't find a single word. She roars him on, reminding him, no matter what, that he's still a genius mage. A wicked smirk snaps across his face as he realizes she's dumping all the pressure on him. He straight up admits that if the cops ever start investigating and they get arrested, their whole operation shuts down overnight. With a sneaky grin, he declares they're going to take the Knight Order. Son beams with full confidence, proud as can be that her teacher's decision is exactly what she deserves. They burst into laughter, admitting that with things the way they are right now, pulling it off is straight up impossible. The scene snaps to the Grand Castle, standing tall against the evening sky. A bathhouse attendant's voice ricochets through the steam, pitching her services, but Tistria just kicks back, calmly assuring her subordinates, "I'm totally fine." A knight bursts with nerves as she hurriedly confronts her commander about a decision she just made. She can't stop staring at the shocking risk of recruiting the man who crushed Aviar, because if she teams up with him, she fears his shadow will stain his legend and wreck his reputation as history remembers it. But the commander just grins, shrugging it off like she doesn't care about any of that. Her attendants erupts in shock as she casually brushes off her own image like it means nothing. As Tistria speaks, she makes it crystal clear. She trusts her direct subordinates with her whole heart. She uncovers her investigation and discovers there's zero proof of wrongdoing in Borek's territory, which proves Gekaku's crew can move with razor-sharp discretion. Reports spread that his subordinates were nothing but a bunch of puny, weak soldiers. Somehow, it's a fact that you're looking at history's impossible finds, because the results are so insane they shouldn't exist. And the info about their weakness feels rock solid. History in this field says it plainly. Gekaku is a genius so sharp she outshines even her. Her knights are left speechless, swearing that no one in the world could ever outshine their commander. But Tistria just flashes that knowing smile, like she already sees what's coming. She finally admitted she's got insanely high expectations for Gekaku Hikyu. Meanwhile, Gekaku and Son stride through the city streets as the Son panic surges. They realize they're short on manpower for the night order. Training fresh recruits from the ground up with his old method is just painfully too slow. And Gekaku realizes they've got to lock in combat-ready allies right now. Son lanes in and asks if it really is that bad. Then he nods, confirming the truth. With a heavy sigh, Gekaku finally admits the truth. There's only one option left that actually works for them. As they push through the roaring, busy human kingdom, every step feels like it's pulling them deeper into trouble. He burst into an employment agency, desperate to land some urgent help right now. A cocky mercenary strides in and loudly declares that his human comrades have finally arrived. While that shady guy cackles from a nearby bench, a bunch of guys boxed him in, crowding close as he begged them for help. Their faces curl into smug, unsettling grins. A woman's eyes sharpen with pure, unwavering determination, revealing a squad of fierce female warriors, eyes locked on every second as the scene played out. This leader can't shake it. This whole situation reeks of something shady. This tale cuts back to the day her mercenary crew was first forged, where one of her comrades blared that strength beats gender every time, and then there was more. Another voice snaps in, refusing to be treated like a thing. No more objects, no more silence. Their leader swears they'll climb to the very top on sheer talent alone, banding together to forge the mighty 100-strong Amazonas mercenary corps. But now, in the present, their situation is downright terrifying. The exact same two men keep creeping closer, leering and trying to intimidate him. And the mercenary leader watches, despair swelling with every beat of the moment. In a flashback, a man leans in and asks, "Is a group of 100 members really too many?" While one more person rages that their work isn't legit. A woman's terrified they'll only spark trouble with every other group out there, but a man just waves it off, like, "Relax, there are others available." But in the end, nobody would take their all-female mercenary crew seriously enough to hire them. She was cornered into taking out a massive loan just to keep her people fed. Now the loan sharks are here, ready to grab every last cent they're owed. One of them proposes she can grind it out in the mines for 5 long years to pay off the debt. Leaving the proud warrior in tears, he's got zero options left. But then wham, the door bursts open, and a hooded figure steps into view. Gekaku and Son stride into the guild hall with determination blazing across his face. He sharpened his mindset, zeroing in on the perfect crew of capable mercenaries for his new assignment. Inside, a young woman in light armor clenches her nerves, totally out of her depth, like she stepped into the wrong fight. As Gekaku strides right past the other recruits, she barrels straight for her. He leans straight into her space and fires off the question, "Are you one of the mercenaries for hire?" She nervously grips a document in her hands, a notice spelling out a massive debt she's stuck with. Gekaku snatched the paper from her hands, tore through the details in a flash, while a guild official shoves a bag of money into his hands to cover every cost. He tells her he'll wipe out every last bit of her debt, then turns around and tells her she'll be working for him now. She just gapes at him in total disbelief, her mind refusing to catch up to his words, and then he yanks her arm and tells her, we're leaving now. He grabs the reins and strides the brand new all-female mercenary squad out of the building, leaving the guild masters reeling, totally stunned by his audacious move. Gekaku can't help but think, with this many recruits, we've got more than enough. While the woman he just bought is still dazed from the shock of everything that just happened. This guy finally clued in. He just walked out with more than 100 of their people still behind his wake. Later, she strides through the forest, marching deeper, and can't help wondering what kind of job this is really supposed to be, While the other women twist in fear, they realize they've been pulled straight into a brutal, massive war. Gekaku cuts them off cold, promising, "I'll tell you everything when we reach our destination," and as night crashes in, they press on through a full moon glow, chasing the road ahead like it's calling their names. He storms forward with his brand new mercenary army, slicing through the shadowy woods. Then he snaps to a halt and barks an order for every subordinate to assemble, right now. His demon and beastkin girls step into the light, looking totally ready to crush whatever comes next on this mission. Sohn and the other elves stood on edge, waiting for his next command. A dark-skinned elf stands right there, braced and ready, one more core member of his team. Gekaku strode to the edge and surveyed his massive army, locking eyes with the ranks. Every single fighter had arrived, and the whole crowd erupts and shouts, "Yes, ready for orders right now." This brand new mercenary leader looks totally lost, like the chaos in front of him just blew his mind. Sohn just smirks, oozing confidence at her teacher. His daemon and beast kneel to grin, craving the next mission. And the dark-skinned elf twins feed off the excitement, grinning like they're in on something huge. While one of his key members watches with tense, quiet worry. Gekaku kicks off his speech by laying out exactly what they're doing, Lord Borek's private army. That mercenary captain leans in, eyes locked on her, still trying to piece together what's really happening. While they bragged about the brutal, powerful enemies they'd already crushed, he leans in and tells them the truth. Something shocking just slid into their lives as an unexpected invitation. Tistria herself rolled in with a serious offer, waving a banner like proof, and the whole thing crossed a hard line with gay cock. Kaku snaps up the banner and shouts that Tistria wants them to join the Night Order. This beastkin girl's mouth falls open in pure, jaw-dropping shock as the world suddenly cuts, so fast it's like the sentence doesn't even finish. The demon girl freezes, eyes bulging with raw, wide-eyed disbelief. Even the usually stone-cold dark elf couldn't mask the shock on her face. These twins, though, looked downright ecstatic at the unbelievable news. And the mercenary leader was stammering so hard he could barely get out the words, "Night Order." Gekaku slams the warning down. If they join, they're choosing to go toe-to-toe with enemies so powerful they'll shake their world. And one of his elves panics, fearing the enemy will crush them with sheer overwhelming numbers. Another subordinate blurts out, "So what happens if we become knights?" As the beastkin girls stare on, and worry keeps creeping higher in their eyes. As another elf bluntly declares that they'd all be killed instantly. This mercenary leader's breath catches and cold sweat bursts out, because the consequences hit him like a punch, But Gay Kaku snaps around and faces them head-on, ready to make them rethink everything. Gekaku rallies his fresh army and declares, at full volume, that he's the genius mage Tistria herself vouched for. And he clutched that cheer like a promise, knowing he'd still be forging their weapons and honing the tactics to come. He swears to his loyal followers that as long as they stay by his side, not one of them will ever die. His mercenary leader's eyes flare with fresh purpose, and he swears, right there, that they'll win together with him. A tight grip clamps down on a flagpole, its emblem screaming that a brand new era is about to begin. As Gekaku hoists a banner, forging the lowly slave Night Order, his core subordinates explode into a thunderous, joy-soaked cheer as their new unit steps into the spotlight. The other elves jump right in, even as his original crew side-eyes that weird name, because once they hear it, they can't help but love it anyway. Sohen panics in a cold sweat, thinking he picked the wrong name, but he fights through it. He yells that he'll finish this all the way to the end. The rest of the elves burst into cheering, all nodding along, fully behind their brand new leader. Later at the castle's back entrance, Gekikudal planted himself to wait for him. Then the moment hit, and he cut himself off, like the next part was too shocking to say. But he whirls around instantly, barks for her to follow him inside, and she's left completely stunned and confused. He tells her that as of today, she's joining the Night Order too, and she has to report straight to the commander. Sohn's eyes go wide in total shock, then she blurts her agreement with shaky stammers. Two of them stride down a long, ornate hallway inside the castle walls. She can't stop thinking about the rumors swirling around Tistria, an astonishingly beautiful woman with power that borders on unreal. Gekaku snaps his fingers at the door and announces himself like thunder. Inside, Tistria lounges calmly on the sofa, surrounded on both sides by 4 elite guards standing watch. With a knowing grin, she tilts her head up and lets out the truth. She's been waiting for them. She sweeps them forward with a warm gesture and motions them to sit down. The camera locks onto the breathtaking winged hilt of her mighty sword, every detail sharp and alive. Another shot catches her armor shining like it's flawless, glinting, gleaming, and untouchably perfect. Sohn is left speechless, staring like she's standing face to face with someone who doesn't belong in this world. Tistria leans in and asks, "So you're here because you've accepted my offer to join us?" Gekaku stood before her gaze, eyes hard and unshaken, proving he'd already made up his mind. Gekaku thanks her for the chance, but you can tell he's holding back big time, as Tistria admits that this sudden promotion is going to make enemies out of people who refuse to accept him. And if he wants everyone to believe his wins are real, he's got to crush her test. He lays down the law, pull off 2 missions tonight, and make sure you come back successful. They slip away, stitched up with doubt. Can they really turn into real, official knights? They stood side by side, shoulders squared, ready to smash whatever challenge came next. And just like that, she's flooded with emotion at the thought of serving under him. But history slams a harsh truth into their heads. Finishing the missions alone won't save them. A sneaky condition that blindsides Zone and catches him completely off guard. They've got to deliver results, so brilliant they obliterate every other knightly order. Gekaku snaps up the high-stakes condition without even a second thought. The history of Smiles is right on the edge of revealing their very first impossible assignment. Their target is a heavily fortified enemy stronghold, and she demands they seize the whole fortress before sunset, all in one single day. She locks eyes with him, challenges him with that look, and asks if it's too much for him to handle. Zen panicked, totally unable to wrap his head around it, like no one should be capable of pulling off something that impossible. She whips around to her teacher, begging, like she needs the answer right now. Gekaku just smirks and shoots back, dead confident like, "Yeah, we can pull that off." The story slams into a massive fortress, its towering walls looming over everything like a giant threat. Up on the battlements, the guards swapped shifts and called out clear reports. No sign of trouble, but out there in the nearby forest, a secret plan is already spinning into action. Inside, Gekaku's troops have smashed together a temporary command post. He gathers his inner crew and lays out the battle strategy. The mercenary boss leans in and figures there are 200 soldiers packed inside the fortress. His demon and beast allies weigh the odds. If they can lure them out, they've got a real shot. This mercenary leader freezes up, gripping his words tight as he tries to explain the mission's deadly flaw. Their goal is a gigantic stone fortress, so brutal to siege it feels almost impossible. It's just out in the open, flat land stretching everywhere, with zero cover in sight. That big force can't creep in unnoticed. Once it moves, it gets spotted instantly, which means they'll have to push forward, while arrows rain down on them nonstop. She insists they can't possibly pull this off in a single day, unless they bring in more soldiers. Even the dark-skinned elf can't hide it. Worry crawls across his face as the odds stack up against him. Gekaku only smirks, then dares them to ask if they truly thought he wasn't ready. He leans in and says this, if the enemy's trapped, it's a perfect shot though. Even now, the mercenary leader still can't figure out how they'll pull it off without more troops. Gekaku grins and declares that with his fresh weapons and dead-on tactics, they've already got more than enough fighters. Sohn's riding high on confidence, but the new recruit is still all unsure and uneasy. This fortress used to be the key strategic hot spot in a war-ravaged region, but now it's nothing more than a basic training ground where new commanders get their start. A soldier barrels into the office, bursting with an urgent message. Commander Toraman snaps at him, tearing into his total lack of decorum. This soldier blurted out a rushed apology the second he crashed in. He slips into the next room and freezes. There's a woman sprawled on the bed, taking it easy like she owns the place. She shoots him a question. Did you bring someone else into my private space? Toraman waves off the soldier's worry and snaps that the woman is nothing but a decoration, an efficiency piece. Then he lines in and demands to know if the soldier has a report for him. And the soldier yells at the top of his lungs that the enemy is striking them right now. Moraman's eyes light up with curiosity instead of worry, and he leans in, grilling them for every last detail. This soldier shouts that 3 separate squads, each packed with 100 men, are charging in from 3 different directions. And then a squad of 20 armed ogres came charging in from the north. This soldier boasts that they've got the numbers and the siege weapons to crush everything, so there's no reason to fight at all. He tells them those 20 ogres could steamroll 100 coordinated humans with 0 trouble. But if those enemy forces move as one, there's no telling how fast they could drown you in overwhelming numbers. Toraman smirks and barks orders, seal the gates and hold the walls. He waves off the whole attack like it's just sparring, then sets his sights on slowly crushing them with waves of arrows. Outside the fortress, that massive gate is bolted shut tight, so sealed that even an ogre can't break through. Up on the battlements, the guards jeered at the oncoming army, laughing that they'd shown up with no siege tools at all, while the last 100 soldiers get yanked into reserve, held back as reinforcements. But out in the forest, Gekaku crouches behind the trees, peering through a spyglass like a hunter, because they're falling for the bait. He studies his battle plan with a grin, loving how the enemy tucked themselves in tight inside that fortress like a turtle. With a cold, sinister glare, he tells them their defensive strategy is about to get them killed. He unveils his brand new weapon, the composite magic demon towers, fueled by his elf girls. A dark-skinned elf sniper locks onto her target, her focus so sharp it feels absolute. They're all stacked in silence, lying in ambush, just waiting for the signal to hit. The camera glides across their advanced rifles, and you can't miss how sleek and deadly they look. One elf perched on a tower's peak, pouring her magic straight into the device. A text overlay pops up, basically saying, long-range shooting. Yeah, it's not simple at all. As the diagram lays it out, wind and gravity team up to bend every twist of the projectile's flight. Even in a perfectly controlled setup, landing that shot is still a brutal uphill fight. But the target sheet makes one thing brutally clear. Nailing perfect accuracy is almost impossible. Gekaku smirked like he already knew. No matter how hard the Night Order's elves tried, not one of them could sink a magic shot from this spot. But his demon towers blasted the sky with guided shots that snapped onto a marked target. And the sniper's rifle spits out a scorching targeting laser, snapping onto the fortress like a lock-on. A glowing magical projectile tears across the sky, screaming straight for the castle wall. A glowing sigil erupts across the sky, locking in the truth, target acquired. The wall guard finally spots the enemy's real move, and it's far worse than anyone thought. While Gekaku laid it out, their position made it impossible to miss. Zone perches on a weird contraption with bated breath, praying like his life depends on it, as the device blasts her skyward with an earth-shaking surge of power. From their high perch, the Dark Elf twins line up their shots and fire with deadly, pinpoint precision. His elite units rocket across the open field, charging straight for the fortress walls. Massive ogres pressed forward on the ground, marching in relentless, crushing waves. This fortress stands guard as explosions roar out from the far-off forest, blasting the air and leaving them totally baffled, wondering why he pulled off that weird distraction. Right as a brutal blast tears through the battlements beside them, this ogre loomed at the gate while the guards screamed and panicked, scrambling to make sense of the attack. If the ogres say the plan is working, then boom, every shot lands right on target. Then a beastkin girl flashes a savage grin and declares, "It's our turn," right as they rush into the fight. The beastkin squad rockets off the ogre's shoulders like they're launch pads, blasting straight into the air, darting straight up toward the very top of the fortress walls at breakneck speed. Their razor-sharp claws shoot out, poised to tear straight into the stone. They kick into gear and start climbing like lightning, scaling the wall with terrifying ease. In seconds, they're already vaulting over the parapet like it's nothing, plunged inside the fortress grounds, just as the guards finally snap to attention. The squad leader gives a sharp report. He confirms they've smashed through the outer defenses. Then wham, another explosion tears through the courtyard and wipes out even more soldiers. Then the truth hits. Beastkin girls are loaded with brutal, high-powered explosives. 1. He bolted past the stunned guards and hurled even more bombs straight into their ranks. And a soldier snaps his head up in terror, fully realizing what's about to hit. While a tiny decoy darts by and grabs every eye, the real attack hits off behind the curtain. Up on the wall, a soldier roars at the top of his lungs for everyone to scramble back, as 2 giant lit bombs thunder across the stone floor. And when the beast girl flashes that wicked grin, it's clear they've trapped them, because more bombs are packed inside. This wall detonates in a blazing shockwave, and 3 of the girls get launched flying. Then midair, one of them flicks a tiny device through the air, right as everything hangs in the balance, clamps onto the shield strapped to her back, and she flashes a nervous grin, realizing what's about to go down. She rockets ahead in a flash, blasting forward through a burst of smoke. She got smashed, brutally slamming down into the ground below. She staggered out, dazed and groaning, reeling from the brutal hit. On the shattered wall, a soldier seethes, cursing the brutal assault that keeps coming, wave after relentless wave. An archer snaps his bowstring tight, seething over the breach in their defenses. As the beast-can girl claws and fights with everything she's got beneath her. Straining with all his strength, he shoved a massive rope ladder hard against the fortress wall. Suddenly, dozens of ladders crash into place, and the guards are left reeling. Her mercenary commander and her squad launch into a fast, breath-stealing descent, and her armored boots hit the battlements with a thunderous slam. This lone archer stumbles backward in pure panic as the Amazonas Mercenary Corps braces to storm the fortress. Their leader barks the command to smash the line, press in hard, and drown the defenders in sheer force. Meanwhile, a soldier strides through the hall, grinning like his orders are all that matters. And he goes straight to Commander Toraman, only to find the commander caught up with another woman. Toraman just waves him away like it's nothing, banking on the enemy to back off any second. His face instantly snaps into total, bone-deep shock. The soldier lurches ahead, wrecked and grievously wounded, blood pouring with every shaky step. The soldier yells that the whole fortress is seconds from getting taken. Gikaku's forces swept through the castle like a tidal wave, leaving the defenders crushed and outmatched, snatching the stunned soldiers and pinning them down before they could even react. Toraman's eyes widen in terror, because he instantly knows this isn't just some ordinary training exercise. Strip away their walls and the fortress is yours, just like that. From far away, Gikaku throws out a grin and declares, "It's already over, the battle's won." His warriors stand tall, crushing the enemy troops that lie defeated at their feet. They're getting absolutely crushed by the new Night Order's brutal ferocity. He stormed out, leaving the mercenary leader totally baffled, like, what in the world was even happening? Toraman freaks out, shrieking that it's only been under an hour since the attack kicked off. From where he stands, he can already tell, this fortress is seconds from crumbling. Just then, one of his soldiers jabs a finger toward something looming far off in the distance. The northern gate has been ripped wide open from the inside, like someone just unleashed the whole world. He still remembers the report. 20 ogres stormed that position and tore into it. But his men are scrambling like crazy, desperately blocking whatever's trying to get in. A terrifying masked beast lunges into the doorway. A hulking monster loomed there, and it was way too massive to be just some plain old ogre. And it's dragged allies into the mix, freezing the defenders in terror and leaving them completely paralyzed. Toraman can only stand there, mind shattered beyond repair, just staring at what he's seeing. The moment their commander is wiped out, the fortress collapses and drops its weapons. These last soldiers lift their hands, and with their courage gone, they surrender. As the masked beasts roar with victory after slipping in unnoticed, Son watches the victory crash in, wearing a proud, knowing grin like he saw it coming. Defeated soldiers are dragged into the courtyard, surrounded and captured, an entire army at its breaking point. Shock and pure, humiliating disbelief are plastered across their face. 2 of the captured soldiers are tied up on the ground, crushed by defeat and sinking into total despair. With their commander, Toraman, who can't even process what just happened. Gikaku stands in front of every prisoner, his wind sealed tight, and he's about to. With a grin that says gotcha, he smugly tells the mercenary leader that the fortress is theirs now, his. His team checks in, and they've only got one small injury in the whole group. And the demon girl smirks, basking in the perfection of their flawless execution. An elf beams with joy, swearing that in that brutal battle, not one of them was ever lost. This mercenary leader just stands there, still trying to wrap their head around the sheer force they've unleashed. While the new recruits just stand there, the whole crew gapes at their commander in straight-up awe. Toraman erupts in disbelief. He can't even wrap his head around how they seized the fortress without a single casualty. But Gikaku just smiles and tells him it was a perfect win, exactly how he planned it. He grins and declares their first mission an absolute, no doubt success. Gikaku steps up to his roaring army and declares a massive feast, right there to celebrate. Peering through the spyglass, you can spot the fortress's original banner flying in the distance. A mysterious observer leans in, watching everything spiral out, worry etched deep across their face. Gikaku whips his gaze back to his brand new prize, stunned that they grabbed it in a single day. As night sinks in, the banner still whips triumphantly over the conquered stronghold. Inside, the whole bottom feeder Night Order crowds around a massive bonfire, drinking in the heat and cheering like it's the end of the world. Then his core subordinates shot their mugs up in the air, clinking them together as they toasted his jaw-dropping victory. These Beastkin girls brag about their lightning-fast assault, craving fame like it's the finish line. As the demon girl cackles, drinking in the pure terror on the enemy's faces. Even the stoic dark elf twins finally drop their guard, and they take a breath, cheering like they mean it. And after that brutal fight, one of the other elves falls asleep peacefully, completely drained. This mercenary crew can't believe the raw punch behind Gekaku's magical weapons, and their leader flashes a grin, savoring the rush of knowing this is exactly what it means to be a true knight. Under the blazing full moon, their fresh knight order banner snaps and waves like it owns the sky. These brand new mercenaries can't help but gawk, calling it a dream come true. Amalcia, their leader, comes clean about how she didn't trust him at first, but now she can't deny the brilliance of the man she's come to respect. She clocks it instantly. He's the real deal, never once using his all-female team for power or advantage. One of her soldiers grabs Gekaku's original girls and demands to know if they've got some kind of special bond with him. That demon girl flashes a wicked smirk, and you can tell, yeah, she's 100% confirming it. They say the wild rush of battle always sparks a whole new kind of celebration afterward. A flashback kicks in, and Gekaku is partying hard, celebrating his wins with his demon subordinates by his side. This Beastkin girl swears their success all comes down to their chief's iron leadership. Then she's got one more thing to add. More memories pop up, showing the Beastkin clan handed out the same kind of rewards, like a thank you for what they did. This mercenary girl stands there, utterly stunned by the revelation. Amal should collapse in despair, convinced this cruel new rule is coming for all of them now. Her eyes blow wide with panic, because deep down she knows the firing is seconds away. But she suddenly snaps to attention and declares, "I'm the one going." Her subordinate yelps her name, begging her to stop before she makes a reckless move. Amal clenched her fist, dead set on grabbing this chance before it slipped away. With a fearless grin, she orders her team to hand everything over to her. Meanwhile, Gekaku studies battle-smashed armor, already sharpening his ideas to make it stronger. He slams down at his desk and sketches fresh designs for their equipment, diving deep like the next upgrade depends on him. A sudden thunderous knock at his door shatters his focus, and then he swings it open and, like it's nothing, casually asks what they need. His face snaps into total shock the second it hits him. Amelia stands right in front of him, rocking a dazzling dancer's outfit that leaves him completely speechless. She tilts her chin up to meet his eyes, cheeks burning with nerves, yet she stands firm, resolved to go through with it. Gekaku just stands there, frozen in total shock, like his brain can't even make sense of what he's seeing. The mercenary commander gets yanked out of nowhere, her face frozen in a mask of pure shock and confusion. Gekaku looms over her, gripping her shoulders hard as she kneels there. He quietly slips off his huge cloak, his face carved from mystery and her. Her eyes suddenly flare wide with raw terror, because she has no clue what he's about to do next. But instead of hurting her, he tucks the cloak around her shoulders with a careful, gentle grip. She was left in total shock, completely blindsided by his unexpected kindness. Then he yells that he has zero interest in forcing himself on unwilling women. She demanded, "What are you thinking?" because his weird behavior left her totally stunned, and as the door slams shut, she can't stop wondering why he would pull something like that. She spills her raw desperation. She's done waiting, and she wants to join the Night Order for real. She couldn't shake the fear that the moment they stopped being useful, they'd throw her mercenary core away without a second thought. Gekaku whips around, demanding, "So that's it. Are you proud you sold your own people just to chase glory?" It hit her like a warning. Those kids and commoners would be staring up at them, expecting them to be heroes. He snaps at her for chasing glory so hard she forgets why she ever started in the first place. She stares at the ground, and her mind crashes back to the time she ruled her mercenaries with pride. But Gekaku blurts out that he totally lost track of things and left everyone hanging by forgetting to explain their new status. The mercenary leader jerks his head up again, totally stunned, because he can't make heads or tails of what he just heard. He tells her their powers aren't just impressive anymore, they've proven themselves, and now they're essential to his whole plan. And her eyes brimming with tears, she finally realizes she's genuinely indispensable to him. He flashes a grin and, like it's all official business, asks her to join his crew as his subordinate and fight for him. Overcome by emotion, she chokes back tears and accepts his offer, then calls him commander. He tells her to head home for the day, because their business is finally done. But next time, he's coming like a storm, and he fully expects her to already be ready for him. The story snaps to a different fortress, wrapped in a suffocating dark aura, inside a map. Our hulking, horned warrior looms over the fallen knight, gripping his axe like it's about to strike again. A towering demon warrior bellows as he swings his massive club, pure rage driving every hit. Tistria whips her blade up and effortlessly snaps aside the deadly strike. His eyes snapped wide with disbelief as her insane strength hit him like a punch. He froze when he realized his weapon was totally locked in place against her blade. She meets his gaze head-on, ice-cold and unbreakable, like nothing can move her. Another beastkin warrior gets blasted off his feet and gets slammed back, hit by something nobody can see. She explodes upward with a monstrous leap, soaring high into the sky. She bolted away, leaving her opponent frozen on the ground, staring up in pure, stunned disbelief. A wild, manic grin snaps across her face as she hammers out her next move. And then 6 giant magic circles slam into existence around her in midair. Her enemies can only stare in terror, helplessly realizing what's about to hit them next. A cataclysmic explosion suddenly swallows the entire battlefield whole. In the aftermath, the fortress walls lay in ruins, and her foes were cut down for good. Her subordinate couldn't believe it. She demolished the fortress by herself with that insane power. But Tistria waves it away and demands a report on something else. He confirms it. Gekaku's crew crushed it too, seizing their fortress in just one day. A cocky smirk spreads across his lips as he drops the news. And if Tistria smiles, then her judgment was spot on, and it's time for the next test. Meanwhile, deep inside a hidden lab, they're churning out an illegal drug by the batch. A chilling scientist grins and claims he'll crush the mighty demon lord, like it's already done. He sinks into his office chair, all alone, surrounded by stacks of research that glow like the answers he's hunting. A cracked old photograph shows Tistria perched on his desk, like it captured a moment right before everything went wrong. With a crooked grin, he hisses her name under his breath, like all he can think about is her. The story whips over to the banner of a whole new knightly order, as a colossal all-female army sweeps across the plains, and their banner rips through the sky, flying higher than ever. A squad of demon girls strides ahead with confident grins. But their leader's face snaps into pure shock as then they spot the wounded, desperate villagers huddled in prayer, begging for salvation. An old man drops to his knees and begs the Night Order to stop their land from collapsing into ruin, while one guy exposes his injuries like proof that their pain was real. That demon girl's eyes sharpen with pure determination as she locks onto the people she has to protect. Their mission drags them straight to Baron Borealis's estate, where a butler ushers a dark-haired man and an elf girl into the shadows. This guy storms in and greets the Baron, who's stuck in bed, sick as a dog, and unable to get up. Then the elf girl just freezes, eyes wide as she's left totally stunned by what she's seeing. This young Baron chokes out an apology for how pathetic he feels, coughing weakly. The visitor can't help but heap praise on the Baron, because even with his illness gnawing at him, he still attacks every duty like it's sacred. Then he steps back and tells the butler, "I'll get all the details from you." And right then, the butler starts spilling how their nightmare all began. It all kicked off the moment a magic engineer named Tanlo rolled into their lands. He handed the old lord a miracle cure, claiming it would wipe out his illness. Then the desperate lord started swallowing that mysterious medicine, one dose at a time. His health suddenly surged back, and Tanlo's satisfaction hit him like a victory. He was absolutely thrilled. And then, as his reward, he handed Tanlo a license to manufacture the drug. This engineer smirks as he scans the contract, because it quietly gives him the green light to sell it. The butler's hand shakes with pure fury as he drags the memory back up. They thought the first wave of relief was over, but that was just the opening scene of their nightmare. The dark-haired visitor drops a shocking truth. This drug is just a plain, simple painkiller. And the elf girl drops the truth. It won't cause any side effects unless you deliberately chew through it too much. They once hyped it as a miracle drug, then watched it crush the sick with false hope. An advisor lanes in and reveals Dakara, a brutally powerful painkiller that's illegal to use, which doctors once tossed out carelessly for any mystery ailment. A harmless habit that quietly hides the start of far darker diseases. Eventually, the deadly drug got outlawed, but that tragic decision only left a scar from the past. But someone with a sinister scheme clocked the moment and seized the forbidden substance like it was their ticket to something darker. This advisor leans in and tells the story of how the last lord realized he'd been tricked by a man named Tanru. And just as the lord lunged to catch the traitor, they were already long gone, too late. Tanru quietly built an unstoppable force behind the scenes, ready to strike in a coup the moment the time was right. This lord's soldiers got utterly crushed, then got shoved into a desperate full retreat. In the end, the old lord met his end on the battlefield, betrayed and cut down when it mattered most. One of Gikaku's elves freezes in horror, blurting out if the lord's army really got wiped out. The advisor breaks the truth. While the heir is still a child, the territory plunges into full-blown chaos. Now Tanru's men are tearing through the streets, snatching citizens left and right, because there's nobody left to stop them. The elf's eyes snap shut with focus, and he finally gets why they were summoned to this desperate land. Tears streaming down his face, the advisor pleads for help, gripping onto his final sliver of hope. The sick young lord jerks himself upright in bed, hurling out his own frail yet desperate plea for help. His hand trembled as he clutched the sheets, whispering the word night and he desperately pleads for justice, for the ones who tore his home apart. Gikaku's confident smirk flashes across his face as he grabs the mission. And there it is, Kakahiku, gay Kakahi, straight up saying he'll take the wheel and handle everything himself. This young lord's face lights up with pure relief, and hope finally snaps back into his eyes like it never left. This advisor softly guides the worn-out young baron back onto his bed, and as Gikaku strides out, he tells the boy, "Don't worry, everything's fine now that I'm here." Meanwhile, in a different corner of the territory, a man lets out a scream of agony. At Tanru's stronghold, captured citizens are being dragged into savage slave labor, day after day. Inside a wild, chaotic bathhouse, a woman snaps and protests the rowdy crowd's behavior, as someone else lunges to shut the door on a man who's crashed into the wrong room. Sorcerer Tanlo bursts in with a wild, maniacal grin, practically laughing as he declares, "I'm finally here." But before he can even react, one of the women blasts him hard on the shoulder, sending him crashing onto the wooden floor in a tangled heap. Then a vicious glare snapped into place. He jolts his gaze skyward from the dirt, muttering curses through clenched teeth. Then rage detonates in his chest as he roars, demanding she explain why she's blocking a genius like him. This woman sneers at him like he's nothing, spitting out that he's worthless, and basically tells him he needs to learn at least some basic decency. Her cutting words hit him like a sudden punch, freezing him for just a heartbeat. Before he unleashes a furious kick that shoves her aside, he snarls at her to get out of his way. Somewhere else, a calm man stands his ground against Tanlo's forces, brushing off their every plan like it's nothing. As the scientist bragged through the roof about his elite, ogre-level creations, this mysterious man just flashes a confident smirk like he already knows everything. Hearing it out loud, he's rocking the exact same instant enhancement drug they're using. Tanlo's hulking creations stare in total shock, like their own bodies just betrayed them. And the scientist sneers, swearing he's the only one who can craft the real, genuine article. This guy stays ice calm. Is that so? Then he pivots back to his own beast and then plunges the powerful serum straight into its arm. This masked beast stiffens to the point of breaking as the drug starts hitting harder and harder. Veins bulged and throbbed as a brand new surge of power slammed through him. Tanlo stares on, eyes blazing wide with pure manic excitement. The man fires back, asking if he still dares to think these beasts are nothing more than cheap imitations. This creature now crackles with a blinding, power-soaked glowing aura. Its eyes gleamed with terrifying power behind that mask. A sinister scientist is forced to face his two monstrous creations head-on. He explodes into a scream of disbelief, slamming the question over and over. How in the world did someone copy his drug? Gikaku bursts in with his masked beast army snarling orders as he commands them to unleash an attack. Right then, the scientist gets hit with a sudden bolt of inspiration. He said the look might match, but the consequences will hit totally different. Gray-skinned monsters flash their grins, reading his confidence like it's a threat they can't wait to answer. He barks an order, make the enemy taste the real thing, the genuine power. One of the masked beasts' eyes flares with a sick glow as it braces for impact, and it intercepts that brutal attack like a pro, shrugging it off with a small shield. A gray monster bears a wicked grin and swings its own club with brutal, crushing power, pouring every ounce of its enhanced strength into that single crushing punch. These two forces smash together, bursting into a blinding shower of sparks, sending one of Gikaku's elves into total shock as the strike got parried. Amalcia snaps to the truth, both sides hit with the same brutal power. This masked beast locks eyes with him, and the attack barely even phases it. His opponent snarls with pure frustration, burning with rage because that stalemate won't break. Two monsters slam into each other, trading savage punches as their weapons grind and clash like thunder. This monstrous thing brags that its side hits harder than anything. Veins bulge as it cranks up the power and tightens its grip. This fight keeps roaring as both armies push each other to the absolute breaking point. A total brawl erupts, enhanced soldiers clashing in pure, unstoppable chaos. One of the scientist's creations unleashed a terrifying scream at its enemy, like, "Just break already." But the masked beast stays stone cold, unmoved even when everything else shifts. This scientist cackles like a villain, absolutely convinced that nobody on Earth can ever copy the raw power of his drug. His monster roars, then slams a brutal, heavy cage down on its opponent. The heavy cage drops like a hammer, slamming down with a thunderous crash that rattles everything. But the scientist freezes, staring in pure disbelief, because there's not a single thing there, not a trace. His creation is crumpled on the ground, and that masked beast towers over it like it just won everything. The gray monster clenched its teeth, writhing in brutal pain. Both of the scientists, upgraded soldiers, are completely knocked out right now. He rips into a furious scream, roaring for his creations to rise and clash. Gekaku stares, shaking his head like, "Look at this, so pathetic it's almost painful to watch." The drug's side effects crush their bones so badly, there's no coming back. These enhanced monsters have hit their physical breaking point. Their bodies are falling apart right before their eyes. Gekaku's face goes ice cold as he declares, "We can't keep fighting anymore." This scientist is drenched in nervous sweat, and he can't even wrap his head around what he's seeing. His creation stares up at him, demanding to know how Gekaku's forces are still standing. Gekaku strides ahead, voice steady as he orders his troops, "You can drop the disguises now." One of the masked beasts starts peeling off its wild, furry skin. He stormed away, leaving the scientist completely baffled by that impossible sight. The suit split wide and there, right inside, Gekaku's demon subordinates are revealed. One of the girls snaps that heavy suit is scorching hot, and it makes every move feel impossible. Peeking inside the suit, you'll spot a bizarre, muscle-like lining that throbs and pulsates like it's alive. Gekaku admits the design still needs tweaking, and his girls jump in like, "All right, let's test it and fix it." This scientist snaps completely, screaming through a full-on mental meltdown that none of this can possibly be real. He explodes with fury, demanding to know what kind of trick Gekaku used to mess with him. Gekaku spits the truth. He never had the drug injected into his soldiers at all. They slid it into the cultured muscle inside the suits. These suits are basically golem-like armor, fueled by an enhancement drug. Yeah, and that's the thing, they're insanely effective, however. After one brutal surge, the artificial muscles start failing fast. Two of the demon girls crumple to the ground from pure exhaustion, their role in the fight finally finished. Gekaku barks orders to his remaining troops, "Go seize the last of the enemies before they vanish." His face hardened with icy resolve, and he pushed forward, no matter what it took to finish the mission. That elf girl snaps to attention, her face just as stern as his command. Gekaku himself barrels in, swinging steel and hacking straight into Tanlu's soldiers. These rescued women get dragged out of the chaos at last, slipping out from their captor's grip and tasting freedom. Tanlo slumped in defeat before his shattered base, watching his strength drain away. Gekaku steps into his path and pitches one last twisted experiment, like a trap dressed up as a final chance. And the scientist jerks back when Gekaku starts calculating a lethal dose tailored for a man of his size. Then he raises 5 vials of the drug and fires off the question, what does Tanlo think is about to happen? And the scientist erupts into terror, realizing that exact amount is a death sentence. Then it all turns into pure, filthy panic. Kaku flashes a smug smirk and dares them to prove that theory, right now. He shoves the vials into Tanlo's mouth and shuts down any chance he has to resist. This scientist suddenly chokes, convinced he's swallowed a deadly dose of his own invention. Right when he realizes his life is over, the world suddenly goes pitch black. Gekaku stares, eyebrows knit, as the guy crumples down in front of him. Tanlo jolts awake, stunned. He can't shake the question of why he only fainted. Gekaku held up an empty vial, and when it swung open, it was only packed with plain water. That realization detonates through Tanlo. He can only shriek at the mind-splitting torture driving him to the edge. An elf strides up to Gekaku and hands him a status report. She makes it crystal clear. Every last villain left behind has been captured for good. Another soldier rushes in with the news. Every person who'd been trapped as a slave is finally free, rescued. This elf grins like the job's finally done, then Gekaku snaps, not yet. Her happy smile flips instantly into total, jaw-dropping confusion. Gekaku stares ahead with grim resolve and snaps that there's still more left to do. The tale rips back to the Borealis estate, because a whole new chapter is already igniting there. This loyal butler beams with pure joy and blurts out that the young master has finally recovered, just like that. Gekaku towers in front of him, flashing a knowing, rock-solid smile like he already knows what's coming. This young baron is practically glowing with joy, raving that his body feels light, strong, and insanely healthy, and he demands, right there, how Gekaku pulled off that cure so fast. Gekaku calmly admits he's been the one giving out the exact same illegal drug Tanru made, and that's when everything clicks. This butler's about to lose it. He thinks the drink is poison, but Gekaku steps in, calm and steady, and reassures him. They weren't bluffing. The medicine itself was real, legit, and expertly made. It was first built to fight deadly illnesses, and if you use it the right way, it can literally save lives. That leaves the butler totally rattled, staring at Tanru like, why didn't you just sell it the legal way? Gekaku figures Tanru wasn't just aiming for a night order, she was desperate to be seen and finally get the recognition she craved. So he slapped a basic painkiller on the stage, sold it like a miracle cure, and watched fame explode. He probably only knew how to cook up the drug, nothing about how to prescribe it the right way. This young lord and his butler finally lean in as the grim truth snaps into focus. Gekaku snaps at them, warning that using an outlawed drug without a proper diagnosis is a crime. With a smug grin, he leans in and orders them to hide his involvement. No one's allowed to find out. This young baron glances down for a split second, and then his face hardens, full of steel resolve that. Then he declares Gekaku his savior, swearing he'll never utter a single word about this. This butler nods, then swears up, and down he'll bury this secret with him when he dies. Gekaku grinned, pleased by their loyalty, as he geared up to leave, and then bam, an elf girl explodes into the room with urgent news, like she's racing against the clock. She scoots in close and hurls a jaw-dropping report straight into his ear, whisper heat and all. His eyes flare with disbelief, because he can't fathom why she would travel all this way just to show up. Right outside, Knight Commander Tistria bursts in with her personal guard at her heels. Meanwhile, Gekaku's elite squad is lined up and ready to smash whatever hits them next. This demon girl stares at the stalemate, and worry keeps tightening in her chest. And the elf's face flashes, with the same worry burning in her heart for their troops. Even Amalcia stares on, stone-faced, and not sure if this ends in victory or disaster. Gekaku just smirks, rock-solid confidence, totally untouched. His beastkin soldier can't hide it. Anxiety churns in her chest as the battle rushes in, and the dark elf's face holds a tense, silent worry, but then another elf flashes into a huge, bright grin as the scene snaps to Gekaku, standing in front of a massive army. He dips his head with respect, thanking them like it's an honor just to have them here. Tistria is the one who steps up first, wearing a knowing grin like she already knows his next move. She admits straight up that the mission they just survived was brutal, saying that if he messed up, she'd step in and take Tanru down herself. Gekaku and his subordinates are left staring in disbelief at this shocking revelation. And it hits him this was a test from the very start. He realizes that a real leader has to be ready to lay down ruthless judgments. And Tistria admits she came ready to step in, but turns out she didn't even have to. She tells him, "You nailed it. Your success matches my expectations perfectly." She flashed a satisfied smile, like she'd just proved she couldn't have been more right about him. Gekaku lets out a shaky sigh of relief, finally knowing she's cleared her trial. Tistria steps up, addresses Gekaku and his whole company with full formality, and cuts right into the moment like, declaring they'd already crushed the 2 trials she threw at them. His original demon and beastkin girls burst into roaring celebration, and Imalcia's mercenaries erupt into cheers, hauling them in like they're real comrades at last. These elves are hit with a wave of emotion, stunned speechless by what just happened. Tistria steps forward and officially declares them all the real deal, its newest legitimate night order. 2 colossal armies stand shoulder to shoulder, an unstoppable force that feels impossible to stop. Gekaku takes on his new responsibilities with a calm, knowing grin that says he's already got this under control. History's already sounded the alarm. If a problem pops up, she won't just delegate, she'll step in personally. Gekaku can feel every word land like a promise. She swears she'll never cause trouble again. Then he whips around to face his own subordinates, demanding every ounce of their full attention and just like that, Tistria officially hands them over to the brand new Trickster Knight Order. But Gekaku looks totally thrown off, and he blurts out, "What do you mean by that?" as she rips the huge banner open so everyone can finally see it. She tore back the banner and showed everyone her new form, ready to join the Trickster Knight Order. Tistria blushes and tells them, every knight's order has to march under its own flag, and a sly gaycock who promises that his brand new order is going to take off, ***1. He stormed off, leaving the whole company staring in total silence, horrified by that brutal design. These younger members can't stop staring. They rave that the design is straight up cool, but Gekaku clocks the crushing dead silence spreading through the rest of his troops. Even Tistria's own knights can't bring themselves to say a word about it. So she offers up a second option, this adorable little caricature of Gekaku himself. Gekaku grits out a grin and tells them, "Come on, a portrait of me. That's a bit much." And Tistria takes this as him picking the very first design, because it's the one she's finally happy with. The knights despair nod at them, asking if they really had to carry this banner into the sky. And just like that, Gekaku and his crew get officially stamped as a legit knight order. The story swings to their brand new headquarters, where a flag snaps proudly in the sky. Inside, someone tiptoes barefoot across the wooden floorboards, like they're afraid to wake the whole house, revealing a long-haired woman in a plain tunic. Her face holds a tense, quiet worry, like she's bracing for the next blow. She marches alone through a long, dead-empty hallway, and every step feels louder than the last. With Tistria's 2 trials finally cleared, Gekaku's team steps into the official Knight Order. Now they're feared and famous as the eccentric Knight Order. As a brand new company, they snap up their own one-of-a-kind flag and claim the sky is theirs. Their brand new order is finally stepping out for its first true official mission. But one of those demon girls doesn't look even a little excited about it. On their very first mission, a hooded stranger lines in and demands why she's making that face. She fires up, spilling her frustration to the man driving the wagon, because their very first assignment as knights is straight up hunting down bandits and wiping them out. She grumbles that after an exam this brutal, this feels just like their old jobs all over again. The hooded man presses in, reminding her the mission comes straight from Tistria herself. A mission worthy of a true knight, right under her command. A fully armored knight steps in, straightens his gear, and lays out every detail of their very first assignment. Explaining what's going on means stepping straight into Lord Elhana's territory, and the neighboring lands of Lord Wasit, Og. A gang of bandits has been terrorizing the road between their lands, striking at will. Gekaku leans in and hangs on every detail of the request, then he snaps, "Go on." He demands to know if this is really what the citizens are asking for, because this is the kind of duty the lord ought to take. And the knight confirms the townspeople begged both lords, yet neither one lifted a finger. Gekaku can't even process it. Standing still makes zero sense to them as looks like those 2 lords' bond soured fast after some petty little squabble. And now they flat out refuse to cooperate, shoving the whole problem onto everyone else. This knight lines in and asks, "Can you keep it discreet?" Because they've got the knack for dealing with nobles. Gekaku nods and swears he'll shut down the gossip and protect their reputation. No stain, no exceptions. One of his subordinates snaps at the girl, ripping into her for complaining about Tistria's request. This beastkin girl stretches out, still bored even after their first deployment. This beastkin girl lives for one thing, seeing her squad carve out a legend on the battlefield. For comrades cheering, his excitement surged. He couldn't wait to step into a real knight order. But Phosphos, the dark elf, snaps the truth into them. Start small, take the smaller jobs first. Gekaku, still wrapped in his hooded robe, nods along with her careful plan. He grumbles nonstop about the clan chief's orders, and even snaps at his own teacher, Ira. Then he erupts, yelling that if anyone's got a problem, they should go straight to Tistria and say it to her face. A suggestion so sharp it struck fear straight into his subordinates' bones, leaving them terrified. This elf girl snaps at him, insisting they drop the distractions and lock in on the task right in front of them. Gekaku let out a frustrated sigh, sick of getting lectured by his own troops. One of the soldiers blurts out a straight-up question: how in the world do they even track down bandits? Phosphos tells them that if they bring that kind of force, the bandits won't fight, they'll just vanish and hide. And they add this: those bandits might be cooking up a trap, or they've already slipped away and moved their base. The elf girl whips around to Gekaku and demands, "So what's our next move?" He lines in and tells her, don't you worry about a thing." With a confident smirk curling on his face, he says he already has a lead. His subordinate tilts his head up and beams at him with a radiant, trusting smile. Their scheme hinges on a bunch of huge barrels, bait meant to lure their target right in. Soon they burst onto a grand, towering castle, all stone and shadow, where their meeting finally begins. Count Wasato himself steps forward, welcoming the brand new Night Order like they're the start of something dangerous. Gekaku steps in, introduces himself and his subordinate, Sash, and reveals that they've come as Tistria's envoys. This count just revealed the truth. Bandits have shown up in a region where politics is already a powder keg. Then he shuts down the political chatter with a sly, knowing grin, like he already saw right through it. He finally pulls back the curtain and reveals the real mastermind behind the whole incident is a man called Count Ulhina. Gekaku's jaw drops the moment he hears that name slip into the conversation. Wasato tells them he once crushed Ulhina in a massive business showdown. The tale kicks into a whole new kind of trouble. Bandits surge across a brutal mountain range. A lord finally spills his suspicion. He's sure Count Ulhina is behind the attacks. An elf girl can't help it. She blurts, "If you know how, why won't you just catch those bandits yourself?" The lord explodes in fury, realizing the count is painting him as a total incompetent. This bombshell jolts the elf, but the hooded man beside her doesn't blink, like he saw it coming. It's exposed that Count Ulhina is purposely tossing bandits right into the lord's territory. This lord drops his head and blurts out an apology for every bit of trouble he's put them through. He promises his total help, determined to prove, no matter what, that he's completely innocent. Then the hooded man lifts a single finger and fires off one simple question. Asking whether Count Ulhina is the real deal when it comes to fine liquor. So this lord straight up admits the count was the very first person who taught him about alcohol. This weird line of questioning blindsides the elf girl, and she's totally lost. Then the whole story whips over to Count Ulhina's massive, grand estate. He finally storms back home and demands his butler tell him everything that happened while he was gone. His butler snaps in, right on cue. The new Night Order has shown up to wipe out the bandits, describing their leader as a suspicious guy who slipped a message straight to the Count, Ulhina. Tina smirks, convinced he's dodged a direct showdown with some genius move. Yet, then it hits him, he just made a brutal miscalculation, and the damage is already done. The bandits he hired are ducking into abandoned houses, right on his own land. He plots to settle the knights first, then slip away and wipe out the bandits under the cover of silence. To make it happen, he's throwing a huge party to thank the knights for backing him up, and he's even. And get this, he's even ready to pour his own secret brew at the celebration. One tiny detail hits, and suddenly, the Count's mind is completely thrown into chaos. Gekaku blurts the truth he's been exposed for. The whole brewed moonshine thing is just legal rot. This Count panics and blurts to his butler, demanding whether the knight commander truly said that. The Count lanes into his butler and demands to know if he's tasted the special liquor for the party. And the butler nods, saying it's delicious, some kind of alcohol he's never even had a taste of before. Ulhina's curiosity sparks the moment she realizes her butler isn't just polite, he's got refined taste down to the bone. And he smirks like he knows the fun's about to explode, his anticipation swelling into a full-blown frenzy for his own party. That night, right at the castle, the grand celebration finally erupts. Nobles from everywhere swarmed into the great hall for the occasion, as Count Ulhina shoots a huge thank you to the new Night Order for backing them up with their service. Gekaku steps forward and declares himself the commander, Tistria's loyal servant to the bone. The whole crowd is buzzing out of its mind, desperate to meet the brand new commander. But Gekaku soaks up all the attention, and he's even smiling like he's hiding something. Then he rolls out several huge barrels, an epic special gift just for the guests, and then starts pouring that deep red liquid straight into a wine glass. This dark, mysterious brew swirls, coiled tight and ready to be served. Every noble gets handed a single glass of the special vintage. Gekaku leans in, takes the first sip himself to test the taste. Then he pauses as the moment hits, and he proclaims it a masterpiece of pure magnificence. A noblewoman stares into her glass, nerves fluttering as she wonders what fate is about to pour her way. Gekaku leads the way, and the other guests drop their drinks, then her. Their faces light up with shock as they blurt out, "This is seriously delicious." Some other nobles took one bite, and they couldn't stop praising that smooth, unique flavor. They all stopped dead. This flavor hits like nothing they've ever tasted before, and it leaves them staring, and they can't stop guessing, mouths agape, wondering where on earth a drink that exquisite could have come from. Count Elhina strides forward with swagger, proclaiming that this brew is his very own special mix. He smirks and asks for a glass so he can savor his own handiwork, and Gekaku flashes a sly grin, offering it up like, "Go on, enjoy it." Count Elhina lifts a glass of wine and grins, ready to slam it down with a toast at his party. And he swirls the liquid, eyes locked on its shimmering color, soaking in just how pure and top-tier it is. Then crack, a jagged split rips across the glass, and his eyes snapped wide, disbelief hitting like a punch. He just stared. He glares at the glass, sweat pouring down as his mind scrambles to understand what the hell just happened. His guests stare in stunned silence, totally baffled, like they can't believe their eyes as one of them flinches instantly, clamping both hands over his nose like the stench hit him like a punch. Then yet another guest snaps the same way, wrinkling in disgust as that sudden stench hits them. Soon the whole party snaps into disgust, ripping their faces away from their glasses. Ronald Hina freezes on the spot when it hits him. Every last drop of wine has somehow been ruined. Right then, Gekaku shows up and beckons the Count to try something totally new. He swings into view a giant barrel he hauled just for this moment. He stared at the barrel, and a sharp spark of recognition flashed in his eyes as, while his guests stare in confusion, he's left completely stunned by a single, ordinary barrel of liquor. He clenches his teeth tight, and a cold sweat instantly bursts across his brow. He whips around to Gekaku, demanding to know what kind of trick he's been running. Daikaku throws a cold, knowing glance back over his shoulder. Then the story snaps to a silent, empty hallway. Gekaku and the Count now stand there, alone, staring down the barrels. Gekaku leans in and confesses, "I've got a knack for tracking down brews like this one," and the Count blows up with fury, demanding to know where he got it. Gekaku just flicks his hand toward what's sitting inside the barrel. Ulhina finally grasps that the legendary liquor, once thought wiped clean from history, has returned. Gekaku grins smugly, and that "I knew it" feeling finally clicks into place, explaining that the Count already knows the secret behind this rare drink. Yeah, it's a gay cock. Kaku tells them the liquor doesn't just sit around. It's aged in barrels carved from rare, special wood. A legendary drink once ruled the nobility's cups, but because everyone chased that profit, the trees got ripped out so hard they vanished completely, wiped from the world. That shuts the door on making any more of the legendary alcohol. Count Elhina remembers savoring it just once, an unforgettable gift from his own father. But Gekaku flashes a sly smirk and claims that's all just the official story. He admits straight through the smoke that he's secretly got the last original tree and the remaining seedlings locked away. The revelation hits the Count like a thunderclap. He's left frozen, stunned, and totally unable to speak. Ulhina stares at the barrels Gekaku hauled in and realizes, holy hell, these aren't just supplies, they're literally priceless artifacts, and he can't believe it because he is. He's blindsided when Gekaku steps up and offers to just hand them over to him. This is the Count's one and only price, total cooperation in the bandit extermination. An offer hits Elhina like a jolt, and she starts sweating as she weighs every single option, line by line, heartbeat by heartbeat. He can't stop wondering, does Gekaku really think he'd spill his crimes just to get a little liquor? Gekaku's face says it all. He's got the Count's greed pegged down to the last detail. He leans in close and whispers the terms of his irresistible deal like it's a secret only you can't resist. The Count's face twists in pure shock because he just realized he's been trapped. Gekaku steps in front of him, throws up a hard block, and demands he think it over one last time before accepting. He pointed at the barrel that might just be all his. Ulhina seethes, his mind sprinting between ravenous greed and the one goal that keeps him alive, survival. At last, he stops stalling and makes his move. He agrees to take those priceless barrels.